So this is Talking Drupal. This is a weekly chat about web design and development by a group of guys that have one thing in common. We all love Drupal. And welcome to episode 0. This is being recorded on May 30th, 2013. And it's entitled Get the Ball Rolling. So let's get the ball rolling, guys.
Couldn't agree more, Stephen. Let's get the ball rolling. This is Talking Drupal, a weekly chat about web design and development from a group of people with one thing in common. We love Drupal. This is episode 500, Community Edition. On today's show, we're talking about 500 episodes, chatting with old friends, and welcoming you, the community, into the show. With our OG hosts, Nick Laughlin, founder at Enlightened Development. What's going on, Nick?
I'm very excited. I want to just take a quick moment to thank my wife for making this wonderful t-shirt. I don't know how well you can see it, but she embroidered the Talking Drupal logo and a 500 marker to celebrate.
Fabulous. You may have recognized his voice from our original intro. Stephen Cross, founder and creator at Talking Drupal.
Boy, that intro is funny, isn't it? Do you know what? When I was looking at it this morning, Jason hasn't changed at all. We all have except Jason.
Yes, that is true. Jason is timeless. Joining us, Jason Pomintel, principal designer at Chewy and an original Talking Drupal host.
Yeah, I feel like that's a part of my past that a lot of people didn't know about, but really happy to be back on the show and really love that you guys have kept it going for this long.
And for the 500th time, I'm John Picozzi, solutions architect at EPAM, and super excited to be here and talking to all of the different community members we have on the show today. Before we jump into that, though, Jason, you haven't been here for a while, right? We haven't had you back in quite a few episodes. So what's new with you?
So I've been at Chewy now as principal designer on our design system team for about 3.5 years, and that was sort of following on a whole bunch of Drupal work for the state of Rhode Island, which was really fun. But I've been spending a lot of time on our design system, working on our typography. Big news at Chewy yesterday for me was we finally were able to roll out a whole typography change in our apps. And so Android and iOS apps are now fully over to our core brand typeface Gordita. And we are hopeful that it's going to then ripple out to desktop from there. But it'll take a little bit more work.
Very cool. As a Rhode Island resident, I'm always proud and excited when I go to a government website and I'm like, I recognize that design system and I know what is powering this website, and that's fabulous. Stephen, moving over to you for a second. I was reminded in looking at some of the content that the Drop Times produced. I was reminded in your interview by one of the biggest fails of Talking Drupal. And I just wanted to bring it up here. The Jeff Geerling incident, right?
Right.
I just wanted to check early on this show. We're recording in like 2 or 3 places today. Like there's no risk of loss here.
Well, thanks for bringing that up, John. Yeah. So yes, there's always a risk of loss, right? There is no definitive way you won't lose anything, but we are streaming live, so it will be on YouTube. I'm recording locally, so we're heading in the right direction.
Fingers crossed. Right. We're doing things a lot differently these days, and I will say that we've learned from our previous 499 episodes, I guess you would say. So we're in much better shape. So Stephen, I mean, since leaving Right. Leaving air quotes, leaving Talking Drupal. You've been doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes. What else have you been doing? Anything interesting?
Uh, Not really.
Just working on Drupal, running
Yeah,
running Drupal websites.
Yeah, it's funny that after quote unquote retiring from the show at 300, I stayed involved. And as you can tell, my involvement has been ramping up slowly over the past 2 years. So I've enjoyed, we've got some announcements coming later today about changes in the show and new things happening. I've been involved with those, so that's been fun. Preparing for this show today has been fun too. So I like doing this stuff. So I'm just keep going.
I will say, and I'll probably say this a couple more times. Steven's in the background. He's always helpful, and probably about 90%, if not 95% of this show today was all Steven's doing. I mean, Nick and I kind of put in some input here and there, but Steven brought together all the guests, brought together all of the structure, and has done quite a bit of behind the scenes video magic to make this show possible.
Oh, so, but it's all you guys from this point forward.
Oh, geez, no pressure. Limited video editing and an open mic. What could go wrong?
Yeah, go easy on me if you could.
Before we say goodbye to you guys, Jason, I'm just curious, what's new in the world of fonts? I know that you're probably still very much in the font world, and I'm just curious, like, what's going on?
There's the use of variable fonts has been ramping up and getting more and more prevalent. So that's pretty awesome. That's something that I've been super interested in and passionate about since their introduction in 2016. But the idea that you could have like the whole design space of a font, all the weights, the width, italics, all of that can be in one or maybe two files. Is great for performance, is great for more expressive typography. All of that stuff is wonderful. So seeing that become more popular has been really cool. And just having had a chance to play a part in the adoption and how browsers support it and all that sort of thing has been really cool. For us at Chewy, what's been really interesting is actually creating a set of typographic styles that actually can support both longer form reading as well as like a denser product typography in the same system. That's been really interesting to work on. And our design token setup actually is powered in Figma, but is actually also via GitHub driving all of the styles in CSS custom properties as well as what gets transformed into our mobile apps. So it's a really interesting setup. That sort of combination of what Figma supports for typography has been incredible to kind of tie all those things together. So that stuff's been great. That's something that I started speaking about at a couple conferences a couple years ago, and was presenting on some of this last year in Brisbane at A-Type-I, which is a big international type and typography conference, and seeing that stuff come to life in the stuff that we work on every day has been really incredible. One thing has nothing to do with me or any of the stuff that I've been doing, but one of the coolest developments that I've seen come out recently is the inclusion of the Kermit font in Microsoft Office. So if you haven't seen anything about this, you got
the frog.
Yep. You got to go look this up. It's developed by a 3-person type studio in the Netherlands. They're incredible. They're just unbelievably talented guys. And they worked on this for Microsoft. And it is a variable typeface that has an axis effectively of time. So you can actually draw the letters with this axis as you animate everything. And it is intended, it's incredibly flexible in terms of its shape and weight, and then how you can actually have it draw the letters to aid with dyslexia, to help kids learn how to read and write, all kinds of things. And it's really fascinating. And it's actually built right into Microsoft Office now. And if you know anything at all about the document format for Office, for that whole suite, something goes in there, it never comes out. So like this is a huge new thing in type and typography that is going to be widely supported across millions and millions of machines for years and years and years. So
Very cool.
yeah, that's, I think
Awesome.
it's a really interesting development, and will actually, I think, be an incredibly powerful teaching aid for people going forward. So super interesting stuff there.
I can't wait until they develop the Miss Piggy font. But anyway, Jason, well, as always, thank you for helping us to kick off not only the first set of Talking Drupal episodes, but this 500th episode. Spoiler alert, Jason will be back in future episodes, I'm sure. Every time we ask him to join, he's more than happy to do it. But for today, we're going to say so long to Jason. And Stephen, you'll be back a little bit later with some updates and some more great stuff. But for now, I'm going to pass it over to Nick to introduce our first special guest, and somebody, I think we talk to about every 100 episodes or so.
So as we do every 100 episodes or so, we invited Dries on to have a chat. He was traveling today, so Steve and I had the pleasure of meeting with him earlier this week. The full interview is about 20 minutes and will be released later this week as a separate episode, but here's a little preview. Well, thank you, Dries, for joining us. It's always a pleasure to have you on.
Thanks for having me. And congrats, by the way, for this special episode. I'm pretty excited about it. I think there's a lot of value in people just being able to watch and learn from you guys. So appreciate years and years of, talking Drupal. So thank you.
Yeah, we're pretty excited. We've been thinking for a while on how to celebrate. So I think we have a couple of nice things planned this time around. So this is episode 500. Whenever you hit a milestone, it's always a time to kind of reflect. It's been 13 years for us. We've been having some fun looking back through the catalog, some of our older episodes. You're also somebody who has had a project that's been running for quite some time and has hit a couple of milestones. So I'm curious, when it comes to Drupal, how do you stay motivated to keep going and growing with Drupal 24 years after it initially was launched?
Yeah, and almost 25 actually. Yeah. But yeah, we launched 24 years ago, but I probably was already working on Drupal now, even though it wasn't released yet, sort of 25 years ago. I mean, I think there's maybe two things. One, I have a lot of variety in what I do, and I think that is very helpful. I've learned to do so many different things. Like some days I'm working on strategy, other days I'm working with the Drupal Association. I mean, it just changes all the time, which helps, keeps it kind of fresh. But I would say I'm also motivated by the impact that Drupal has. I feel like what we're doing matters. We're helping so many organizations. It's just at a conference, and Acquia engaged, and we gave an award to an organization in the UK, and they help people in need with food banks, and they have 432 food banks that they run of Drupal. So they have all these Drupal sites, and they switch to Drupal, and not only are they serving all of these people in need, but they also are able to increase the donations to their organization by 71%.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's like, and this is just one story, but like there's thousands of stories like that, tens of thousands of stories like that, how Drupal is helping directly and indirectly organizations that do amazing things in the world, from these NGOs and nonprofit organizations to government organizations all around the world that are serving citizens to, you name it. And to me, that's like so inspirational, to wake up every morning and to feel like I can contribute indirectly or directly, depending on how you look at it, to the success of these organizations. And in doing so, we're helping so many people all around the world. And to me, it's just like, I don't know, what else could I do that has this level of impact? Not many things,
Makes sense.
And so I feel like I'm the luckiest person to do what I do. And that's why I'm so passionate about what I do and why I've been doing this for such a long time.
Well, joining us as he does weekly for the module of the week segment. Not doing a module of the week today, but let's welcome Martin Anderson Klutz, a senior solutions engineer at Acquia and a maintainer of a number of Drupal recipes and modules of his own. Martin, how's it going?
Hey guys, great to be here.
So Martin, you've been a relatively new addition to Talking Drupal. I don't know exactly when you first came on the scene as the module of the week correspondent, but how's that been for you? I'm assuming you enjoy it because you keep doing it every week.
Yeah, Nick, you figured it out, didn't you? It was like 371, something like that when I joined on as module of the week. I think it was in October of, or whatever that was, 2.5 years ago, something like that.
Let me double check that. But yeah, 371 was your first episode as module of the week correspondent.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, I love being involved with the show. I've heard some of you say, and I echo it completely, whenever I'm at a Drupal event, get lots of great feedback of how much people value the show. And, for me, as somebody who likes to do a lot with Contrib work in general, I find that to me it's really meaningful to highlight the great work that's being done by others in the community and hopefully give them some exposure, and also to help people realize the power that exists within that broad ecosystem of tens of thousands of modules in terms of cool things that you can do with Drupal.
Yeah, I mean, I think Dries highlighted it in the clip we just showed, but like it is a great motivator to know that you're indirectly helping the community grow and learn and better itself. And you know what? I personally would like to thank you, Martin, because you're bringing a real useful module every week, and I don't have to think about it at all. If you, again, the Drop Times has done some great content for our 500th episode, and that includes interviews with all 3 or 4 of us, I guess I should say. And again, like if you listen to some of those, you hear about kind of the genesis of module of the week and how we would get on a call and just be like, oh, what module you want to talk about? I don't know. Oh, let's talk about this one. Okay, let's talk about this one. And like after a while, it kind of became a little bit of a chore, but now we have somebody dedicated to just curating modules and just bringing great content. So thank you for that, and much appreciated.
And that's actually why we asked you, Martin. I don't know if you remember this, but when you were first guest host, each week I think you're the one that suggested the module of the week, and then all of our guest hosts are invited to our Slack channel and are welcome to stay on after their stint as guest host. And for the next year or so, you kept posting new modules of the week that we kept using, and so we thought we'd just go to the source and
I silently hear all of our guest hosts leaving now as they're like, oh, if I start suggesting things, I'm going to get a job.
Uh-oh. Yeah. No, it's funny. I had kind of forgotten about that. And then I think it was recently when we covered Sally as module of the week and talked about editorially having previously been featured. I have a feeling that might have been one of the ones that I had suggested when I had seen that the topic was going to be accessibility. So yeah, definitely jogged the memory there.
All right. Well, as we just kind of dove into, into kind of figuring out when Martin's first show was, Nick, I understand you have a bunch of stats for us about Talking Drupal.
Yeah, so I have some statistics that I tried to compile. We have, not counting today, but we have had 237 guests on our 500 episodes. We've had 6 total hosts, including past hosts and current hosts. There have been 3 correspondents, which might be a fun trivia question for you too. So, Martin and Jacob, do you remember who the third correspondent was?
I'm not sure if you're counting this, but I think Mark Casillas was correspondent.
Yep, it was Mark.
Nice.
We have had a total of 51 guest hosts so far, which has been one of my favorite additions to the show as well. We have 4 separate shows that we have produced: Talking Drupal, Exploring Drupal 8, Skills Upgrade, and one that we'll announce a little bit later today. And if you look at all the episodes that we have currently live on our website, we actually only have 507. We're missing a couple got lost to time in the early days, but this is episode 500. I also went back and looked at the number of times guests have appeared on the show, and this statistic is only about Talking Drupal as guests. Doesn't count guest hosts or correspondents or hosting or anything like that. Only counts guest appearances. Coming in at number 5, we have a 3-way tie with 6 appearances between Shane Thomas, Chad Hester, and Matt Glauman. In 4th position, Jason Palmental, Martin, and Chris Wells with 7 appearances. Our 3rd most frequent flyer is Mike Miles with 8 appearances. 2nd place is Mike Anello and Jacob Rockowitz. And number 1, we will be talking to him shortly, is Tim Lehnen with 13 appearances on Talking Drupal.
He's soon to roll the odometer to 14 there. He's gonna one up +1 that count. And so are actually quite a few of those other people, not to spoil the surprise for everybody listening, but we do have a fun-filled, star-studded, I don't know how you want to describe it, set of folks that are going to be joining us today. So I think if we are ready, we might want to jump into our first guest. Stephen, is that acceptable?
Getting there. Hang on one second.
Yeah, take your time. And while you're doing that, I will introduce this person. Kind of in the Drupal sphere, he I believe goes by T2, which no, it is not a Terminator reference. He's been on the show before. He is the CEO of the Drupal Association, and he is joining us, Tim Doyle.
Hello. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yep, there.
Now I can see you.
I can see you. All right. Well, let me get down here. I don't know where am I.
You gotta go the other way, I think. Camera.
You're right.
There you go.
Thank you. Wow.
Yeah, it's all reversed. Yeah, after 500, porch. You kind of get used to the reversal of things.
Right.
Tim, thanks for joining us. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm happy to be here. And let me say up front, congratulations on 500. That's amazing. I was like, you guys do one of these a month. That means you've been doing it for 40 years. That's
one a week. What?
Oh,
Wait.
One a week.
There you go.
I thought I want to
40 years would be
40
great.
Years. I was going to ask you about, the Reagan presidency and, what was it like starting it?
I look really good for like an 80-year-old.
Right.
Tim, so obviously CEO of the Drupal Association, you've seen great growth over your time there. I'm wondering, as we kind of are celebrating 500, I mean, how have you seen the community grow over the last couple of years? Being in your role as at the DA.
Yeah, so I think, I think I've seen it grow in both kind of across the globe, but also kind of in depth. And across the globe, of course, the DA is trying to get more active in supporting Drupal, not just in the US or Europe, but really around the globe. We started DrupalCon Singapore. We have a local association initiative that we're supporting. So whether the community is growing or we're just trying to deepen our relationships as the Drupal Association, I've seen a lot of energy coming from, bluntly outside the US in terms of trying to get more involved. And then in the deepening, obviously you'll have other guests that could talk more about Drupal CMS and the newest initiative that Tiffany Ferris is running on investigating a marketplace for site templates. But it's kind of getting a deeper sense of the number of roles in the community and getting those number of roles activated. So obviously developers and so forth, but marketers and marketing firms and design firms. And we're seeing, great interest in really trying to activate the wide range of roles that exist in the Drupal community. Which I think is exciting because, when you look at a technology that's to be this active and this dynamic after 25 years, 24 years it's just amazing.
Yeah, it's interesting because as you just eloquently stated, I see a lot of similarities in Talking Drupal and the DA, right? Obviously, we're all talking about Drupal. We all love Drupal, right? But like, it always surprises me at how much, how international our audience is. I mean, we bring in guests from all over the world. We bring in, we talk to people from all over the world in our chats and through commenting on the various social platforms. And then like, just bringing in content on all those different initiatives. We're actually going to be talking to, again, spoiler alert, Tiffany about marketplaces in a couple of weeks. And, I'm super excited about that conversation just to kind of like get a better idea what it's about and hear kind of what is happening right now in the community. But, I think we've really tried to create a platform for the community to be able to kind of coalesce on some of those topics. So, and I think the DA definitely helps with that. We appreciate kind of the partnership of anytime we reach out and say, hey, we need somebody from the Drupal Association, as indicated by Tim T1, if you will.
That's exactly why I was going to preface what you were saying about my moniker of T2. It's because when I came to the DA just a little over 2 years ago, knowing that I didn't know that Tim Lehnen had been on 13 times, but I knew that he was a presence in the Drupal community and was not going to be the one thing. I didn't want to be the other Tim, but also I wasn't going to be the Tim either. So I'm glad you have Tim Lehnen coming on.
Yeah, I think we should just start calling Tim the OG Tim. I feel like that's better than numbering, but that's just my personal preference. Well, Tim, we really appreciate the time today. And any parting words before we actually move over to Tim Lehnen?
Not at all. Just again, thank you for the 500 episodes and what you're doing for the community. So on behalf of the DA, thank you for that, and I look forward to watching 500 more.
Everybody keeps saying that, and I'm like, I don't know.
Does that make you tired? Does that make you a little tired?
I don't know if it makes me tired. I don't know if undecided. That's how I feel when people say it. I'm undecided. I'm like, oh, it'd be cool to get to 1,000 episodes, and then I'm like
wow.
Well, we'll see. Maybe we'll just focus on 600 for now. I don't know. But Tim, thanks for all your hard work at the DA, and thanks for your support of Talking Drupal.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Bye.
All right. As I teased, here he is. OG Tim. How's it going?
It's going really well. Thanks for having me, y'all. It's good to be back. It's good to be doing number 14. It's good to be joining you as friends in the community, as well as just the host of Talking Drupal, and saying hi to everyone out there who are my friends as well in the community. So awesome to be here.
And it's interesting because I feel like at 14 shows we should get you like a belt that you can like wave over your head like you just won like a wrestling event or something.
Yep. Yeah. Well, sometimes I bring out the chair, so got to be careful.
There we go. So Tim, you've been let me ask you, how long have you been in the Drupal community?
I have been in the Drupal community, if we go by my Drupal.org account, I think 20 years this month.
20 years in the Drupal community. I'm sure you've seen a ton of change. You've been a catalyst for a ton of change in your time as CTO of the Drupal Association. As like we are celebrating 500 episodes at your 20 years, like what stands out in those 20 years as like, I don't want to say the biggest thing, the most impactful thing, but like if you look back on 20 years, what do you take away as like a salient point?
I mean, it's hard to render that down to a single idea, because there's been such a, that's a generation of technologists, of Drupal developers, of the open source movement, frankly. So I think it's I think it's a pretty incredible milestone. Like when Drupal was founded, right? We're pre-Git, we're pre a variety of other open source stuff. We're before the Linux revolution in the server hosting space. Sun was still dominant at the time, and like Microsoft IaaS and all sorts of things. Yeah, there's all sorts of, like, it's kind of incredible to just think about the sheer scale of that progress. But within Drupal itself, the evolution is especially interesting in the time that we're in now, because we grew from this collection of passionate hobbyists in this era where everybody was writing their own CMS to do a blog, into, wait, what if these things could become web platforms for larger experiences, to the sort of Drupal 7, almost, to give it kind of a paleontological reference, almost the Cambrian explosion of use cases and ideas and customers and all these like innovations, all these amazing modules for that matter, that came up with these new ideas, into the sort of Drupal 8 migration to beyond just web pages, to this enterprise scale, to this use of Drupal on not just the browser, but things like in-flight entertainment and digital signage and all these other things. And then arriving where we are right in this moment, on the cusp of readdressing those like individual users and use cases, making Drupal, like all that power we've built over those 20 years, going back to our roots, making that accessible to like individual users, small shops, to, people in their garage, like I was doing my very first websites again, but with this amazing foundation underneath. So I don't know. I mean, I think that's kind of the trajectory. What's old is new again, and it's a remarkable time.
You and HP both got started in the same way, in a garage somewhere, I guess.
Yeah. And not too far away from each other, actually.
I will say that was lovely, the way that you described that, and it was like really concise. It's like you should write a book, or I guess I should say another book.
Yeah, we should consider that.
Specifically about Drupal history. And before I turn it over to you, Nick, I just do want to say I'm watching the chat here, and Martin mentioned SVN, and literally brought me right back to like Tortoise SVN. Anybody ever use that?
Oh my gosh, there was all these clients and yeah.
Oh, my files are out of sync. Time to delete and re-download. And anyway, go ahead, Nick. What do you got?
Yeah, so I think this is a fairly common question, but I always like to ask it when you're on. So the DA exists to support Drupal, right? But a lot of the people at the DA aren't coding Drupal directly, or even working on a lot of Drupal sites beyond maybe Drupal.org, which obviously is a behemoth. What's the current kind of big ticket item that you're working on at the DA from a technology standpoint to kind of move the community forward?
Yeah, well, yeah. Let me step back for just a second and set the stage for that a little bit, because you're right. The DA exists to support the community. We are the infrastructure, the organizers, the conveners of all the different kind of folks around the community. But as I like to say, we build the tools that empower the community to build Drupal, right? We're not building Drupal ourselves. We are maintaining Drupal.org. We're bringing people to DrupalCon. We're trying to support the local associations and all of those different kinds of initiatives to bring people together. So right now, and in the last couple of years, what's been interesting is we've been focusing on contribution enablement in the form of tools. We've done multiple episodes about the GitLab migration, for example, and different kinds of things like that. I won't tread the same ground there. We did the contribution credit initiative and all of those things. But now we are hopefully going to be a part of this transformation to that greater reach of Drupal, that greater ease of use of Drupal. So our specific mandate between now and DrupalCon Vienna in October is evaluating this site template marketplace idea that Dries announced recently and that we've been hinting at, and that Tiffany's going to come on the show in a couple of weeks to talk about, which is this notion of, can Drupal.org be a clearinghouse for greater and easier ways to start sites across a variety of verticals with all this pre-generated content, these pre-generated features, all these things that expand the reach of Drupal CMS. And it's exciting for us because it's a new aspect to what the DA has done before. It is closer to that product roadmap than we've historically been. It's taking a role that's a little bit greater than just the support infrastructure. So it's a really exciting time.
Yeah, I mean, the credit system has been around for a while at this point. Like we can't say that it's new, but man, it's still so, it's like you mentioned, it's so many things. And I think we talked about this briefly with Dries. There's so many things that Drupal did first, like CI, contribution. And contribution is the one that I cannot wait until other communities and tools start adopting that, because I found myself contributing to another open source project on GitHub and being like, oh no, and GitLab actually. It was Inkscape. I was providing some reports for that. You just don't get credit for it. And I mean, you don't do it just for the credit. You still, there's still value in doing that, but it's like, I thought, like, as it got merged, I'm like, I need to go check the credit box. I'm like,
attribution, it's not there. Drupal. I know, it's amazing. And yes, the credit system, it's hard to believe, but next year it'll be the 10-year anniversary of us developing that idea. The concept of contribution credit and attribution to organizations, and even using that as the sort order for our marketplace, and all of these things to try and center the people who make things and motivate the contributors and all of that. Like, it's super, super exciting. And I think, the reason it's not old news is because it's continuously evolving, and because it's fundamental to this model of that we're attempting to do, of solving the maker-taker problem, right? Which all communities in open source struggle with. And some have made some serious missteps with how they choose to handle that problem. And so, it's also something I'd love to see more widely adopted. And again, as we do more stuff with the contributor tools, I'm hoping we can make some of these elements a little bit less Drupal specific feeling, and maybe make it easier for other communities to adopt some of these ideas. So
open sourcing the credit system.
Yeah, I mean, technically it is, but I think making it certainly, let's say, almost componentizing it, atomizing the idea so that it's less inextricably linked with just Drupal.org's model of things, I think would be a great way to make that easier to adopt.
I like Mike Anello's comment in the chat here. The contribution credit system is one of Drupal's crown jewels. There you go. Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, I think that's a great way to put it. Tim, I did allude to earlier you being a published author. You want to tell us a little bit about your book?
You're very kind, giving me the platform to talk about this a little bit. But yeah, in addition to open source, one of my personal passions is writing fiction. And actually, for me, it's a way to, I'll try and tie this in and maybe make it more broadly applicable. It's actually a way to manage, sort of the burnout that can happen when you're working on something that's so much bigger than yourself that it's hard to feel immediate impacts. Everything is a long-term project in open source. Everything takes, the collaboration and collection of all these things. And that's super powerful and super motivating. But sometimes you want something that's just in your own hands to make it feel like you can just make that happen. And for me, the writing is one of those things. And so I wrote Fog and Fireflies, which is a young adult fantasy novel that came out last year and has been received gratifyingly well by the community at large, but also the Drupal community, which I was not necessarily expecting, but it's been very rewarding and charming to talk with folks about it. And I'm starting work on the next one, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. And for that matter, I think it's important for all of us, speaking of contributors and members of the Drupal community, to have those things that are rewarding on the global and community level, but also on the individual level. I think that's a healthy way to be.
So is the plot line of the next book like a loose history of Drupal?
Yes. So we're gonna find, surprisingly, that after Agma gets lost in the fog and rescues these children, she winds up at an open source conference and has to navigate the expo hall. So yeah,
there are definitely going to be dragons to slay there, I'm sure.
I can personally recommend the book. I did really enjoy it. I'm looking forward to the next one. So just let me know. Let me know when it's coming out.
As our listeners know, it will take me at least 2 years to read the book. So
yeah, well,
bear with me. I'll get there eventually.
There'll be an audio version of the second one, just like there is with the first. So it'll be fun.
Oh, audio. That could be something I should try. Well, Tim, we appreciate your time and your support and your providing us with 13, now 14 episodes of content. And keep up the great work you guys are doing over there at the DA.
Yeah, absolutely. And you all, keep up the great work as well. 500 episodes is an amazing milestone. And whether it's 10 more, 50 more, 100 more, 1,000 more, I think the service you're providing for the community is incredible, and we all thank you for that.
Sorry, my heart just skipped a beat a little bit when you said 1,000. I was like, oh, this might be it. That might do.
I tried to bat it. Any of those is an amazing achievement.
I like you started with 50. I was like, oh, that feels good. All right.
Thanks, Tim. And joining us for the second time, his last episode was about, was it 50 episodes ago, talking about IXP. Carlos Espina, welcome to the show. Nope, we can't hear you.
Oh, we went back to the earbud. Oh, yep, now we can.
Yep.
Here we are again, so I'm going to put you on the speaker.
Oh, there you go.
Good. Yes, my headphones don't want to talk to you.
Hey, sometimes that happens. Those headphones. I mean, I use Teams a lot, and sometimes the headphones just won't do it.
That is true.
Carlos, where are you calling in from?
I am in a lounge. We're going to Costa Rica right now.
Ooh, that sounds warm and delightful.
Yep.
Nice.
We're gonna go visiting family.
Fabulous. And you actually just recently started a company, right?
Yep. Falsera.
Oh, there you go. And you guys already have t-shirts. Your priorities are clearly very well set.
Of course. First the brand, and everybody in DrupalCon met Roberto, our mascot.
There you go. Yeah, we had some great conversations at DrupalCon, and it's always great to hear from the wider Drupal community. So tell us, and I know we're going to steal Mike Anello's thunder here a little bit, but tell us what's going on with the IXP initiative. What's the latest?
Well, we have the site ready. We already have 4 companies that want to register, 3 actually registered. And as a matter of fact, we started engagement 1 and 2. So, we said we're going to give you a case number. So Digital Projects from Uruguay created the first 2 engagements. So we have the first 2 IXP about to start. They have not officially started the engagements, but they are ready. So it's working.
So
that's exciting.
Tell us a little bit more about Falsera. What are you guys doing? And are you looking for new clients, looking for employees? What's going on?
We want to have new clients. Our goal right now is to take care of those small businesses that are kind of overlooked by the big agencies and all this situation. It is hard right now for all agencies. And also to try and bridge So you know how everybody looks for developers in Latin America, but what we don't know, or maybe don't know, is that really in Latin America, you have only like 15 to 30% of people that actually speak English, and technology is on the higher end, but it's still that number. And we have a bunch of developers, fantastic people that do not mix with the international community because they don't speak English or they don't feel they speak English. So we are trying to create a product where we can work either for a feature of the website or the whole website or help an agency, but instead of the typical staff augmentation that most companies do, is to bridge a technical architect, somebody like me or my partner that some of you met in DrupalCon, Jonathan, who is a technically gifted guy. We can interface with the English speaker customer and just translate that into our Spanish speakers and provide them with best practices and tools, so it can be a success.
That's awesome. So I imagine starting your own company is a bit of a daunting task. Is this the first time you've started a company, or?
First time. It was prompted by the the change in gears in Acquia, and I ended my 10-year tenure as a TAM over there. And by looking at what I wanted to do and what's going on, I really tried to do something similar 10 years ago when I started with Drupal 10, 11 years ago, but I think I wasn't ready. I feel like we are more ready now. And I believe with everything that T2 has done and the DA has been doing, reaching out to international markets, it will be, it's a better time to bring these developers and provide both benefits for companies and the developers, because we don't want people taking advantage of these developers that don't speak English and go and give them a rate that is not fair internationally, even though it might be very high for our countries.
Yeah. That's awesome. So, I mean, I appreciate you kind of standing up for the little guy and making things more equitable across the globe.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you for joining us, and best of luck.
Thank you very much, and don't forget that I started a new initiative, so please mention it at some point. I'm trying to do improvements in the curriculum of Drupal.
Oh yeah, what initiative exactly is that?
So I said starting, but I want to start. So as we did the IXP, we were asked a lot about trainings, and that is fantastic. And we're also been talking about having Drupal.org being a hub of business, so we can actually give benefits to the DCP, the Drupal certified partners. And when I came to the States, I came as a bilingual teacher. I left technology. I became a bilingual elementary teacher. So I learned how all the standardized tests work. And the beginning of that is by creating a knowledge and skills kind of set for the subject matter. So what I want to do, and I already talked to Anoop about this, is get Open Curriculum, which was a training initiative that kind of got stalled, and make it more than a training, a knowledge and skills source. So we're thinking on, site builder, beginner should know how to add a field to Drupal, kind of that. That's a knowledge and skill. Wow. That can help trainings align with that and can open the door without the VA intervention, because they need to focus on what they're doing right now and it's getting revenue and, what is important at the moment. Open the door to move certifications to the Drupal Association, which makes Drupal.org, again, the source of truth of Drupal, and hence bringing benefits for DCPs and hopefully as well improving smaller companies joining and contributing.
It sounds like another big initiative after IXP, and we'll have to have a whole show for that. But thank you for joining us, Carlos. It's a pleasure.
Same, and congratulations on 500 episodes.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
a lot.
For 550. 550.
There you go. I like that. That seems manageable, as we discussed. 550 might be the new number. All right, let's bring back Stephen to talk about a new something coming from the Talking Drupal network. What do you got for us, Stephen?
Hey, who's that hack running this show behind the scenes?
Don't talk down to yourself. You're doing great.
No, I'm just kidding. It's all good. So
we should definitely give him a new show.
Yeah, there's a good idea. So there's a common theme that we hear often in these 500 episodes, and it's, hey, I was talking with such and such at a conference. We were having a coffee or a beer, and we came up with this idea. The next thing you know, 6 months later, it's an initiative. 6 months later, it's in the product. And those conversations, those one-on-one conversations, I thought it would be interesting if we captured them. So we are launching a new show. A week from Monday, you're going to listen to the first one. It's called Talking Drupal Cafe. And it's an opportunity for two community members who want to discuss something to share that discussion with the community. It's one-on-one conversation.
I mean, I think like when Stephen told us about this idea, I immediately was like, this is a fabulous idea, because I agree 100% with the synopsis, right? Like I go back just a few months ago to DrupalCon and think about all the wonderful conversations that I had with folks at DrupalCon, and just in general the conversations I've had over the years. And I think like this is definitely going to be a highlight for me. I think to be able to have conversations with folks that maybe I don't necessarily talk to on the regular basis to kind of connect or reconnect. So I look forward to helping where needed to bring this to our audience.
And I think the idea is this will be a little bit less scripted than the typical show. I think it's just a conversation between two people. The first episode is going to be Monday, as Stephen mentioned, and who's going to be the.
So we've got I think 5 pairs queued up, 5 pairs of community members queued up. The first two coming out, the first 2 episodes are going to come out as Talking Drupal episodes. Just to introduce the show. So episode 501 and 502 are both going to be Talking Drupal Cafe episodes. Then after that, we're going to get back to the normal cadence of Talking Drupal. And these shows, I think, will be coming out every other week on a slightly different day. Definitely a different day, not a Monday. So maybe a Wednesday or a Thursday. That's the current plan. So we have Martin coming out with Jacob Rockowitz. That will be episode 501, 502. We have John speaking with Jason, which will be interesting. After that, we have Mike Miles, we have Ivan Stejic, we have Anoop John, we have Mike Anello, we have Mike Herschel. So we have a number of people coming. Looking forward to it.
Wonderful. We're looking forward to that as well. All right. Well, Stephen, thank you for joining us for that. And like Nick said, you're doing a great job. Keep up the good work.
Okay. Well, I'm hanging in there.
Let's bring in our next guest. Hey, that transition was fabulous. Mayela is joining us. Mayela is a coworker of Stephen's at the Department of Justice. How's it going? Oh, and we can't hear you. Unmute.
I forgot to click the button. That was my fault.
All right, go for it. Now you can tell us how you're doing.
So congratulations to you all. Very much like the show, and the effort that you put into this is fantastic for the community. Very much appreciated. Thank you.
Thanks so much. And likewise, you and Stephen and the team there working on on our government websites. We appreciate you and doing all that work to keep us well informed. I think that's important. And I will say, this day and age, I don't think people behind the scenes get enough credit for the hard work they do to keep the public informed. So thanks for that. And yeah.
And you
God.
I also just want to say that you might now hold the record for the longest break between appearances on Talking Drupal, because your first appearance was episode 232 when we talked about translation. And here we are,
wow.
270 episodes later. You're back on.
Yeah.
I feel like
I appear every 231 episodes. So
that's a good cadence. We might be able to keep that up. I don't know, based on Tim Lehnnen's recommendation of 1,000 more episodes. Then you'll be on at least 4 more times. Wow. I see here that there was supposed to be cake. I knew we forgot something.
Yeah, I sent a piece of cake to Steven a few minutes ago, and it's a big cake. If you, Steven, at some point you share with the team that cake, that would be fantastic. I made it, and I ate my piece of cake today in celebration for you all.
Fabulous. Well, Steven lives pretty close to me, so right after this, I will go to Steven's house and claim my piece of cake.
Perfect.
No distance is too far. Mayela, thank you for joining us, and thank you for all the hard work you do day to day. We really appreciate it.
A pleasure. Thank you so much, you guys, for everything.
Thank you for joining us.
Ciao.
All right. And our next guest will probably need no introduction for many of our listeners, but I'm going to do it anyway. As Nick mentioned earlier in the show, Mike Anello has been on this podcast quite a number of times, including as the guest host for the Skills Upgrade series, in addition to being the host of the Drupal Easy podcast and the co-founder of Drupal Easy, which lots of folks in the community will recognize from many of the excellent trainings that Mike does as part of various Drupal camps and Drupal cons. So, Mike, welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm so sorry I did not wear my fancy t-shirt today.
No worries.
Hey, that's all right. I mean, Martin really dressed up for the occasion. I was not wearing my bow tie.
Nick's got like a one specifically for this episode. That's fantastic.
My wife she embroidered the t-shirt for us. Well, for me.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess I'm promoting Asheville camp. So April owes me a fancy drink now because I am wearing a Drupal camp Asheville shirt. So.
Well,
nice.
Yeah.
Mike Anello, you have been on quite a few episodes. You are, I don't know, I would say maybe like the de facto voice in Drupal training. I feel like you could probably get that honor.
There's some really good trainers as well, other than me. So I'm not.
Well, so let me ask, how long have you been doing Drupal training?
Oh boy, I mean, it depends what like the first paid training. It's been, oh golly, I'm so bad with questions like this because I don't know what year something happened in the past unless it's like an anniversary. I would say like over 15 years. I know that.
I mean, the nice thing about this is nobody's going to fact check you on it. So you could have been like, oh, it's been like 25 years.
35 years.
Oh, all right.
I've been doing Drupal training.
So 15 years of Drupal training.
Yeah. I would say that's at least, maybe a few more.
I'm gonna tie this back to Talking Drupal and the fact that like I like to think that we teach our listeners something from time to time, right? I'm wondering for you what the motivation is. I mean, other than the fact like I know it's a business, right? But like I don't think that you just do it because it's a business. There must be some other ulterior motive there for you to keep training us.
I mean, I love telling people what to do, but that's not the part I normally say.
All right. Well, it's been nice talking to you, Mike. Have a good one.
No. I feel that I do, so I started teaching, and I've told this story before. I don't know if I told it on Talking Drupal or not, but I started teaching as an adjunct professor in college, and I was teaching mechanical and aerospace engineering courses. So like really heady stuff like fluid mechanics and thermodynamics. And the thing that really attracted me to teaching was that experience. That taught me that I didn't really learn fluid mechanics or thermodynamics until I started teaching it, right? Until I taught it, 1, 2, 3 times, then I really said, okay, now I really know this stuff. And for me, that was kind of like a rush. That was like, okay, now you get it. So it was kind of, when I switched from, my engineering career to, software development career, I kind of knew that somewhere along the line I was going to be teaching, just because I got a rush out of it, and I enjoy it. And I like the little nuances that, I've been teaching this beginner course. I think this is our 14th year or something like that. And I still get like a little rush if I figure out how to explain something just a little bit better, like 10% better. Like that to me means a lot. So I think I answered your question somewhere in there, right?
Yeah, and I get that. I mean, it's like, anybody that has kids or anybody that's ever taught somebody something, like when you see somebody get it and you see the spark and you see like oh, you're just like, all right, I've imparted some knowledge. I've possibly made that person's life better. And as somebody who has very recently taken one of your classes, I mean, I don't know. I always learn something new. And every time I come into one of your classes, you go, what are you doing here? You already know all this stuff. And I go, yeah, I probably know 90% of it, but there's going to be 10% I don't know. And I'm going to come out of here with at least 10% more knowledge than I used to. So
yeah, it's like, depending on who's in the room or, in the virtual room, there's always a challenge there, right? If it's folks that I know have experience, then it's a challenge for me to teach them something or think about something that they that's new to them. Or if it's folks who are very green to the topic, then the challenge is to get them to leave with confidence. Not necessarily with a head full of knowledge, but just confidence that, oh, okay, it's not as scary as I thought it was. I can do this. So there's always a challenge, which I enjoy. I in my head I gamify almost everything. So that's the game I'm playing.
I mean, I think that makes things fun. Before we let you go, Mike Anello, I have to follow up on something Carlos said in the chat here and ask you to tell a story. He said he taught Drupal to Dries. Can you please tell us the story of how you taught the creator of Drupal?
Okay, let me tell you something about Carlos, first of all. Carlos cannot be trusted at all with anything he says. And I can say all this since he's already appeared on this episode, so there is no rebuttal from Carlos.
But there's a chat. But anyway, continue.
Yeah, no, there's no truth to that whatsoever.
I just
and it's kind of funny because the times that I have had conversations with Dries, the vast majority of the time we're not talking about Drupal. So that is absolutely Carlos.
All right, now if you can share it, your last conversation with Dries, what did you talk about?
We talked a few things. One of them that we talked about is we talked a little bit about chess, because he's been playing chess a lot lately. He's written about it in his blog posts. So I'm not. And I am a fledgling chess player. So
no.
But I know enough to I know enough to like talk about openings and have a somewhat intelligent conversation. But
Nick can attest to how bad I am at chess.
Yeah,
Nick literally beats me. I was gonna use a profanity, but he literally beats me once or twice a week at chess.
You guys play? Where do you guys play? On chess.com or somewhere else?
Yeah, chess.com.
I'm looking for more people to play with who are closer to my low skill level.
Oh man, Mike Anello, hit me up, because if I can beat you, I will feel so good about myself.
It's a low bar. You don't understand. Like this.
No. I do, really, because my bar is. I don't even have a bar. I'm just like laying on the ground there. It's so low.
I'm not going to share it, but I'm looking at a record at the moment because it's on the profile, and it's a.
Oh yeah, no, share it. How many times have you literally kicked my BUTT, as my kids like to say?
My record is 102 wins, 2 draws, 8 losses.
Oh my. I have a friend that one of my really good friend of mine who is kind of my regular, my regular game is with him. I've beaten him twice.
Yeah.
But he's really good. Like he goes to chess tournaments and stuff, and
that's where you learn though.
Right? Yeah, I'm just some hack.
Mike Anello, I'll drop my username in the chat here, and you can hit me up on chess.com.
Yeah, let's do it. Absolutely. I would love that. Yeah.
Yeah, there it is. Okay. All right. Well, Mike, again, appreciate you coming on to our airwaves to help us with, teaching Chad about Drupal and others, I'm sure, and just providing us content. And again, every time we ask, you're more than happy to call us from an airport or wherever you might be in the world. So
I'm looking forward to doing the cafe in relatively soon. And
that's right. We can talk about that now.
Yeah, Steven just mentioned it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was paying.
Yeah, I don't know what you guys were thinking, giving me the opportunity to pick a guest. I mean,
don't be that guy, because every time we have a conversation, it is very interesting, and usually it's one of those conversations Steven's talking about. For example, our last conversation about getting back to basics with Drupal at Drupal camps, right?
Yeah.
We had that conversation at New Jersey Drupal camp, and very interesting. So like the premise has legs.
Oh no, it absolutely has legs. I just, there's no way that myself and the person I invited are going to stay on topic. I'm just.
Oh, that's fine.
We'll try.
No topic. It's perfect. Have fun.
Right.
Anyway,
we'll do. Thanks. Hey, congrats. And
thank you.
I'm going to say, let's go for 505 episodes. Let's set the bar low, achieve that goal, and see how you feel at the end of June.
So before we let you go, I am going to say one other thing that you mentioned at New Jersey Drupal camp was that I'm pretty sure that Mike suggested that we have a show that lasted for 500 minutes.
That would have been a worthy 500 episode instead of this, like, what is this, 2.5 hours you guys are doing? Wow, really? Maybe a water break in there somewhere for you?
It's like 3 to 4, but hey, whatever. I immediately was like, no, we're in 500 minutes. Is that nobody wants to listen to that?
You could have done it.
Yeah, we could have. But anyway, Mike, thanks for the time, and we'll talk again soon.
Always fun to see all of you. Take care. Congrats.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
And now joining us for the first time, Jonas Cuyvers. Did I say that correctly?
Yeah, it's correct.
Thank you for joining us. You're with IO Digital?
Yeah, indeed. So I'm working at a Belgium-based company. So I'm also from Belgium, the home country of Drupal, of course. And I'm working there for the last 13 years now. So.
Oh, wow.
So when did you sorry, go ahead.
No.
I was just going to ask, when did you start working with Drupal?
Actually, also, I think 12 or 13 years ago, I did my internship in Beijing, in China.
Wow.
And there, the first code language framework I was seeing was Drupal. And so I started with Drupal 7, a little bit Drupal 6, and now, 8, 9, 10, 11. So
awesome.
Very cool. And you mentioned that you're interested in AI, which I think a lot of people in the world are right now.
Yeah.
How have you been using AI? Anything directly with Drupal?
I'm working on a project now, also for IO, where we are doing AI search actually. So based on AI, we are doing different searches for a website. And the main goal is that we're having some kind of a chat search, but also with displaying relevant results. So that's my task, or that's what I'm working on now. And it's actually going really well. And I'm really looking forward to Jamie as he's coming today. So yeah.
It's actually interesting. It's actually interesting to me because I think like Drupal is kind of moving into like an AI renaissance, if you will, where like we're seeing a lot of like AI features being added to Drupal and AI, the AI framework, like Jamie and Marcus, and then the team at Freely Give have been doing a lot of great work there to help kind of push that along. And I'm interested if like what's your favorite like hobby use of AI? Like, so maybe not work related, but like if you were going to go build a Drupal AI integration, like what would you do?
That's a good question. Yeah, maybe something related to content writing or something like that. So optimization for content or generation of images like that. So nothing very spectacular, I think, but very basics, let's say.
I feel like one thing that Martin, I think you and I talked about this, was like building a talking Drupal AI where it like took all of the like data from our episodes and from our website, and then like we could ask it questions. So as opposed to Nick be like having to be like the stats guy and be like, "Hey Nick, what episode was this person on?" We could just like ask the AI and it could go out and be like, "Oh, well, John, you've said this word 5,658 times."
Although it's interesting, that potentially takes us down an interesting path, because I think it's Google now where they have a demo of basically being able to feed a web page to an AI that will basically generate a podcast where it's like two people interactively talking about the content of that page. So, people were talking about having 1,000 more episodes. I mean, maybe that's an easy path for us to get there.
What if we added an AI as a host, and then we could just ask the AI host questions when we had it?
Thank you.
Oh man, we are going down those rabbit holes right now. I love it. All right. So one last question before we let you go. Have you listened to all 500 episodes?
Not yet, but I'm doing my best to catch up.
Oh, you don't have to do that. That feels like a chore. It's always amazing to me when I meet folks and they're like, "I'm on episode 152," and I'm like, "Oh wow." And they're like, "And I'm going to listen to all of them." And I'm like, "Oh wow, that's a lot of listening."
Mm-hmm.
Well, I do have to say, I'd love your opinion on this, Jonas, before we let you go. Somebody recently told me that they'd love us to do a couple more episodes like we used to do back in the day. We used to do episodes that were like, views, what is it and how do you use it? And somebody said they'd like to hear a couple of episodes like that. What do you think, Jonas? Should we bring that back?
Yeah, maybe it should. Yeah, it's a good idea actually, especially for like the juniors or the starters who are just rolling into Drupal. That's maybe a good idea to let them know how Drupal works, what are the different functionalities, etc. So yeah, good idea.
All right. Well, Jonas, thanks for joining us. And we appreciate you listening. We appreciate you building Drupal. Keep up the good work. And we look forward to hopefully providing you with useful content.
Thank you. And congratulations again.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Next guest is someone else who's been on the show a number of times as both a guest host and guest, in addition to being someone who always does an excellent job of filling in as a Module of the Week correspondent whenever I'm not able to do it. So welcome back to the show, Jacob, and great to have you back.
Good to be back. I was just catching that last bit from the Jonas, and I'm like, you should do core module of the week. That would be a good like interspersed with Contrib modules where you just go over core modules and just talk about the state of them, because that's always kind of interesting to catch up on.
Let's do system.
Some people don't even know what that is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's good to know. Like, oh yeah, you go here for some of the core stuff. So congratulations, obviously.
Sorry, I just like literally was just thinking system, and then I was like, wait, what? And then I was like, what is that? And then I was like, oh no, that's like that would take forever.
Yeah, system is kind of where everything used to go before really modules took place. So there's some magic in system. In fact, I've been doing some work with the install system, I guess you could say, in Drupal. When I was working on rewriting hook requirements so that we could have separate phases and hooks and then a separate install phase. And there's some magic in Drupal to install the system module before Drupal exists and before you can even install anything. So it's a lot of fun digging into those corners.
So, Jacob, you've been a contributor. Obviously, you have done a ton of work on the very famous Webform module, right? You've talked about topics on sustainability. You built schema.org blueprints. Like, there's a lot there. Like, there's a large bucket, way more than 500 episodes of a podcast bucket of work that you've done for the Drupal community. So, I'd like to stop right here and thank you for all of that hard work. But I also wonder, similarly to the question we asked Dries, like, what keeps you going? What keeps you wanting to do it? What keeps you wanting to contribute to this project we all love so much?
I mean, I think people's contributions change and evolve over time. Like I've even stated like I'm doing less web forms, more schema.org blueprints. And even the nature of that contribution, the schema.org stuff is tied to work specifically. Like my client is literally, we have tickets for me to help maintain that module. And Webform's kind of a side project. And I think it's important with everyone contributing, your contributions can evolve and change over time. It depends on where you're at in your life, your career, who you're employed by, who you're not employed by, if you're unemployed. I mean, I think it's a funny statement. If you're unemployed, if you have the time, it's worth making the contributions because it helps you with looking for a job. If you're too busy, you're too busy, and your personal life can get in the way of, well, no, your personal life is actually more important than your contributions. I don't know. I've enjoyed it a lot. I mean, it's something I've talked about periodically. It's like I've done it for different reasons. The web form was kind of like a career challenge. I kind of, I had used Drupal for almost a decade and hadn't contributed much. And we had kind of semi-migrated web form to YAML form, and I just started working on it, and that just started to evolve more over time, that contribution.
Yeah, I remember when YAML form added a UI. That was like kind of groundbreaking for Drupal 8 because there had been such a pent-up appetite for something that could act as sort of a web form replacement. Because that was one of the top 10 modules, I think, for Drupal 7 and a big holdout for folks wanting to upgrade.
Wait a second. This feels like I missed something here. So you're telling me like the first generation of web form had no UI and you just kind of built web forms with YAML files?
Yep.
It
was just YAML. You're entering in the YAML. So like the source mode was the UI. You're just typing out your form. And then I forgot who nudged, like, can you do a UI? And it was like a long weekend to play with manipulating that YAML structure in a UI, just drag and drop.
But Jacob, wasn't it you were working on a separate module called YAML form?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
There. But when you ported it to web form, it already had that UI.
Yes. And that was kind of where the discussion was like when we ported YAML form to web form, we were at like feature parity or 80% there with previous versions of web form.
What version of Drupal was that?
8. It was like
wow.
8
all
at
right.
8.
I'm doing that. I'm like taking a page out of Mike Anello's book because now dates are all weird for me because I feel like I had used web forms prior to Drupal 8. But I guess that is untrue because I don't think I've ever like manually written a web form. I've always used the UI.
So John, here's what happened. So web form existed in Drupal 5, 6, and 7 and was maintained primarily by Quick Sketch.
Yeah.
Quick Sketch moved to Backdrop and said he wasn't going to rewrite web form.
Okay.
Jacob wrote YAML form, which in the beginning was literally just YAML. You wrote the YAML to write the form.
Right.
Then he added the UI. Then he became a maintainer of Webform, ported YAML form to Webform, and now the Webform that we use today.
Got it. Wow, thanks. I know it took a bit for us to.
It's a lot of history. Yeah.
It took a bit for us to get there, but now I'm up to speed. Thanks for explaining that to me, because I was kind of like in my brain going like, but wait, in Drupal 5, I used to use Webform, I thought, but
you did. I'll take that title, Kevin.
Yeah.
Kevin mentioned.
Oh my gosh,
that should be Nick the Historian.
Yeah, no, that's an accurate.
I mean, I think the fact that we're getting so many great Drupal content ideas out of this. I feel like Nick should do a Ken Burns style documentary about Drupal.
It's actually a good thing to do. I think that is good to retell some history. I mean, Dries has like a canned script he brings up every couple of Dries notes with a photo of him with the sombrero. You know, because it's worth it. People coming in need to understand where this came from, how it evolved. And frankly, a great one would be just going over the different versions of Drupal to kind of explain how it evolved, like Drupal 8 and the fact that we adopted Symfony, and even this confusion that keeps happening with Drupal CMS, where how do I upgrade to Drupal CMS? And that's not really true. It's just a different starting point. It's not a new version of Drupal. It's just a different starting point for people coming in. It would be great to go through that history. And frankly, I don't know the history. Someone knows like the 4.7 release, which I still don't know why that's a significant number.
Well, I think that was my first version of Drupal.
Oh,
yeah, I didn't use it, but
that's not why it's significant, but keep going.
There was a huge rewrite of I think that's when they introduced the Form API or Field API.
That's funny, yeah.
Kevin says it was Hook Node API, maybe?
Yeah. It was something like that. I know that it took like 6 months or a year to release 4.6 to 4.7, and it was it forced a lot of things. But this is another teaser from the episode with Dries, but he mentioned that in the early days of Drupal, he would change an API in Drupal and write a script and update every single module in Drupal.org that used that API to use the new system. So you just be like, oh, I have this new API. Let me update every Contrib module in existence with a little script, which nowadays, Rectorbot does a great job, but can't quite do that.
Well, actually, Nick, I got to throw back at you some credit for this replacing hooks with object-oriented code and how much work that is. When I see the change records, to give you kudos for that, it's probably the biggest API change I've seen in Drupal in a long time. Like, and I know lots of people are doing little things, but this one is a major shift that we should have happened when we moved to Symfony. It just wasn't feasible then.
I appreciate that. The hook module implements alter swap ended up with 5 or 6 change records, and I must have put 150 hours into that issue.
I could tease you the next one you got to go after and get through is we have to stop doing the .module extensions and the .install extensions.
That's done.
Well,
that's done. I finished that got in this week.
So I was going to ask about that because Jacob mentioning the other big one that you did reminded me that I wanted to ask you, Nick, about that, because I did see some chatter there that .module files are no longer required in your modules, and I wanted to just ask, how the heck is that going to work?
Yeah. So this week, 2 huge issues I've been working on merged. One was the hook order one, which gets rid of hook module implements alter. The other is hook preprocess in modules can now be OOP2. Now, technically, there are still 3 things that require .module that almost nobody uses. There's cancel callback in views, and I don't remember the other 2, but I'll post the issue in the show notes. But they're very, very rarely used. For all intents and purposes, almost every module can now fully eliminate .module files if they're
okay. There's a ticket. Also, just the fact that these are like made-up extensions that we added to our community.
Yeah, I've been following that.
That ticket's been around forever, which is just such a big change. To not have .install, it should be .install.inc is an appropriate way to mark, or .install.php is an appropriate way to mark a file extension. all these systems kind of understand it. You have to do workarounds. Like they figure it out, but that's another one that's been around for a while.
Yep.
So
I'm looking forward to officially, like, once those last 3 little edge cases are gone, we can officially move that.
Sorry.
But yeah, that just has been around forever.
I feel like I need somebody to explain it to me like I'm a 7th grader.
Well,
that's what your AI bot will be doing for us.
Seriously, I should just create my own that I can have in one ear here to be like, translate what Nick just said into like words I can understand. But like, so we're dropping .module files, which means like people can or cannot update their module, right?
Oh, they can. So the only thing that .module really does is it's a place that Drupal knows to look for and automatically load code. That's all it is.
Okay.
And so a lot of the work, I mean, there's super simplifying it here, but a lot of the work being done for like the hook OOP stuff is just making sure that they're automatically discovered no matter what, right? That's such a simplification of the work that's been done, but that's really what it is. .module is really just or .theme. They're just places where, you know, if you put code there, it's always going to be available when it needs to be run. That's it.
So, but where does the stuff that's in that file? Oh, well, I guess it's not the .info file. Huh,
no, it goes to the hook file, the hook.php.
Well, the .info file might be going away too.
Sorry, but I guess in my head when I first saw this, I was like, "Oh no, in like all the info that's in .info, where's that going to go?" But .module is really just a PHP file with like module specific stuff, right? Okay, I'm okay. I feel a little bit better about that now.
So has an issue already been created to officially deprecate .module files?
I think I think the issue that Jacob is talking about is for that, and I think it's like 20 years old. But like I said, we do technically have to solve those last 3 use cases for it too, and one of them is, I think, batch processing callbacks.
Or something. Batch processing's challenging.
Yeah,
that's where you roll up your sleeves when you have to do batch processing. It's always like, no one remembers that API. It's a very funny old API where you just got to be like, I got to do this.
Did you have one last thing to say, Jacob?
No, just congratulations. Look forward to many more episodes. You know, I haven't listened to them all, but and at one point I used to have to listen to them at twice speed, you know, so you guys all had squeaky voices. And now I've slowed down and I just go through the ones that catch my eye and I listen to them. And it's kind of nice. It's easy to go through the archives if there's a certain topic. Like I've been looking into AI, so I've been going back. You know, you've been talking about AI for 2 years, so I'm going back through some old episodes. So no, very cool stuff, guys. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Jacob. And always happy to have you back on. Looking forward to your TD Cafe episode.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. Okay, I'm going to sign off.
Thanks a lot, Jacob.
Bye.
And now joining us for her first time is Norah Medlind with Bluefly.io Collective. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, good to be here. I'm, coming from Bluefly, but also maybe we even want to talk about things like I'm the lead of mid-camps coming up here on May 20th to 22nd in Chicago. So thank you for having me.
Wow, that was a really stealthy drop in. I like it.
It was great. I'd love to hear more about Bluefly because I've heard whisperings about Bluefly over the past maybe month or so. Can you tell us a little bit about what Bluefly is and who's involved?
I'd be happy to talk about Bluefly. Bluefly Collective is our full name, and it was founded by Thomas Scola, who was a long-time employee of Acquia, was laid off a while back, had started up the organization back in March, actually, of last year. And really, we grew out of a lot of folks coming from Acquia that were getting laid off. But really, the whole concept behind Bluefly Collective is this collaborative impact model that Thomas has also designed. It's the idea of being a more fractional and or consulting firm type of organization within a Drupal agency space, explicitly with the purpose of enabling partnering and enabling other agencies, and as well as really just the idea of bringing the earnings back to the makers versus the takers. So even Thomas Skoll at the top as a co-founder is not as interested in making the big bucks as an agency. He's more interested in collaborating with the community and supporting the community in general to provide some sustainability, not only with resources within the community, but also for projects and attracting other folks into Drupal as well. So there's a lot of community contribution efforts, large part of the mission and vision here at Bluefly.
Well, I mean, I think it's interesting because like the the consultant aspect of it, right, makes a lot of sense. And being a consultant can be very lucrative, but having a mission of that not being your chief priority and supporting open source is noble, I would say. We will be talking to Thomas later, so we can ask more questions about Bluefly to him directly. But switching over to MidCamp. Sorry, remind me of the dates again. Is that coming up in May? Is that
May 20th to 22nd? It's a Tuesday through Thursday, so it's a little bit different days of the week than people might have been doing before in past years, but we're kind of liking it. I think other camps are, exploring some other days of the week as well in this past year, and it's worked well for them. And so we're excited. Also, more specifically, that at MidCamp this year, we have Dries coming on to do a fireside chat with us on the first day right before lunch. We're really excited to be hosting him there. And we have Acquia as well as Amazy and let's see, who was it? Cadabra, and the other core sponsor is Evolving Web. That'll have tables there and a bigger presence at our camp as well. Any other questions? I'm sorry.
Awesome. No, I mean, MidCamp's still one of those camps I have not yet gotten to. I always say, oh, I'm going to do it this year, and then something comes up or something goes sideways. So I'm hoping for next year. That's my goal. I will say though, I think Martin's going to be at MidCamp.
Yep,
that is correct.
Hope so.
I'll be speaking at MidCamp actually. So
what are you talking about?
I'm going to be talking about the event platform, some of the recent changes there, including things like now having a dedicated theme for it. So it's going to be lots of, I think, exciting updates to be sharing with the community there. And hopefully some folks come out and, take in, understand, what are some of the new ways that the event platform can help people who are planning to organize a Drupal camp or similar event.
Thank you so much for your contributions in that area, Martin. I think it's real exciting to see what kind of updates there might be specifically in utilizing recipes and other things with the project. So thank you for your time with that. I did want to mention also that we have a sort of stronger focus on training at MidCamp this year. It's something that I went around to a lot of camps last year, and a lot of people were talking about that being the real value to them, is having a longer format where they receive, a lot more training.
Wait,
and
you guys aren't inviting that Mike Anello guy, are you?
We are, for
boy.
sure. Yeah, he's going to be talking about Drupal CMS. He's doing it over the 2 days. So we have our trainings in the afternoon. And the other one is that's a 2-day is by Amy June, and it'll be a sort of Drupal or a developer 101 module building sort of thing. I think she's done it at Astral
Mike Anello
as well.
And Amy June.
And Amy June, yes,
boy.
yeah. We have an AI training as well. We actually have a panel thing going on. Well, at least a couple folks that are going to be training with an AI session as well on the first day. I want to say Chris Weber, and I got to pull it up here now that you're asking questions. Let's see, what was it? Trainings, and we have Chris Weber and Justin Kaiser. They're going to be doing the AI training. And to round it out, we also have Bernardo Martinez from Valtez that's going to be doing a Franken theme. He actually did a Franken theme session back at Drupal Camp, Twin Cities Drupal Camp last year. And I asked him if he would build it into a training session for MidCamp, because I thought it was really interesting and had a lot more information than just a 45-minute session could cover. So I'm excited to have him talk about front-end theming with that one.
Oh man, I I just realized that your trainings are you have Aaron Winborn award winners doing your trainings, and you should promote the hell out of that. I know for a fact that Amy June will definitely toot her own horn on that.
I do apologize. Amy June is speaking. I mixed that up though. Excuse me. It's April Sides that's going to be the Agile and Git workflows developer training. But Amy June is speaking.
April's great.
Yes. And we'll also have Jesus Olivas from Octahedroid. He's a decoupled guy, so he'll be talking Drupal decoupled training as well. So
wonderful.
Yeah, it's a great lineup. And now that I'm thinking about it, I probably should mention what Amy June is talking about. Let me see what it was. It was editorial experience with Markdown is the session that she's doing at camp this year.
Oh, I love Markdown. So do you guys record your sessions, I imagine?
That one will actually be a hybrid session because she's not able to be in person this year. So where it's needed, we do offer the hybrid format where they get live on YouTube at the same time as being presented to the in-person folks in the room at the event.
Well, Norah, thanks for joining us, and I appreciate the update on MidCamp. I am super bummed that I'm going to miss it, but I'm sure I'll get the lowdown from Martin when he comes back.
Awesome. Well, I'm sure you'll be here in Chicago next year for DrupalCon, right?
Hopefully, yeah.
Okay, so at least maybe we'll see you there, but we'd love to have you next year at MidCamp as well. Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Norah. Our next guest was previously on the show way back in episode 406, talking about the Drupal 10 development cookbook that he co-authored with Matt Glaman. But he was also the main force behind the AI module that we featured as Module of the Week back in episode 400, as well as being a prolific contributor for a variety of Drupal modules, as well as even a tool for generating recipes. So welcome back to the show, Kevin Quillen.
Thank you for having me. Congratulations on episode 500.
Hey, well, thank you. It's interesting. I was at, we were both at Engage in Boston earlier this week. When was that?
Earlier this week.
Earlier this week. Time's weird.
Yeah.
Dries pointed out that you were kind of the pioneer of AI and Drupal and helping kind of push the was it ChatGPT module? Was that the one? OpenAI module?
Yeah, the OpenAI integration. It's still kind of wild to hear. I mean, Jamie and Marcus are really the backbone of most of it. That the OpenAI ChatGPT stuff, I think, really just was a big spark when people saw like the CT editor typing assistant like you see on the ChatGPT site, and that's when the wheels started turning for most. I think most people of what AI could be in a CMS, the ways you could apply it. It's just wild to hear that Drupal, one of the first to have good AI integrations amongst its open source and closed source peers, and still continues to lead in that regard with our very, very, very fabulous work that James and Marcus and the whole community has done around that. So it's really just amazing to see that. I think it's really attributed or contributed a lot of the excitement around where Drupal is going, where it can go, around the AI and experience builder on their own, and then used together, and all the new features that are coming in Drupal 11 and 12 and beyond, along with Drupal CMS 2.0 and beyond. I think is really exciting. And to contrast both Engage and DrupalCon, it was like both camps are now very excited about the things that are happening. Development wise, feature wise, and then end user wise. It seems to just all be happening all at once.
Yeah. And I think so you were kind of there in the beginning, right? And obviously you're here right now, but what do you think, like, what does the future look like for, and I know we literally don't have like 45 minutes to talk about this huge topic, but I'm just wondering, like, what's your hypothesis for AI as far as like the future of Drupal goes?
It's interesting. I think this was mentioned a lot at Engage, where it's like 6 months ago, 12 months ago, people were not really sure what AI was or what Gen AI was or what agent AI was. And now it's happened so quickly, it's all table stakes. Like every CMS or application is expected to have some level of AI. I think for it to really succeed, and I know that people in the community have really been trying to make this happen, is it needs to be easy for the end user to kind of get on board and start using it either as an assistant or in a seamless manner alongside their workflow and kind of accelerate what I'm doing. Now, that could be whether it's content writing or writing code or managing media or improving your search or any one of those facets that someone might need is really key. And I think we're hitting on all those points. So where it goes from there, I'm not sure, but I know that the AI stuff is just progressing at a rapid pace. It's so hard to keep up with, but it's just really incredible.
Absolutely.
I think for me, what's been going on specifically with AI in the Drupal community is a real testament to one of the strengths of our community, which is the fact that even though, you had a module that had lots of people excited about it and, we're doing some great work there. Marcus had, his modules that he was working on, but as soon as somebody said, hey, we should all, instead of working individually on sort of competing projects, really pool that effort and have sort of, one ecosystem of modules that can be very flexible, that can do all kinds of exciting things. And the fact that everybody was willing to sort of drop their individual products and sort of join forces, I think is a real testament to, the strength of Drupal as a community.
Yeah, that's early on, I thought if we're going to make this work in Drupal, it would be kind of key to not have, I don't want to say like competing solutions, but if you were to, I don't want to compare it to WordPress, but to have like 20, 30, 40 plus modules all kind of doing a similar thing and no one's really sure what to use. And some, like my module was locked to a specific provider and someone else would be using a different provider. It just probably wasn't going to get as much traction as saying, we have a thing in Drupal, it's AI, it can do all the providers and you don't have to really code anything. You can use the built-in plugins, or if you need a new one, the framework is there to create it as simple as possible and get up and moving. And that was really more of like let's not compete internally within the community to have the best this module, that module, but really we're so far ahead of what the other systems were doing that let's make that even like widen that gap even further and just provide the tooling so people can build their own, whatever they want to do with AI, they can certainly build it. And out of the box, we have plenty to keep people busy. And I don't think that any other system yet has a means of, that extensibility aspect of it. They have some built-in stuff. There's some built-in agents. They may even have MCP, but in Drupal, it's all free and all there, and it can be extended to what you need to do. And I think that's just a really incredible thing that others are still trying to catch up to. I know that I don't want to say Dries, but maybe a little bird has said that all the big players are now looking to what Drupal is doing as inspiration for what they should have or should have had on their roadmap and playing catch up. And it's just really wild to feel like we are leading just by having a passion for Drupal for one, and two, just contributing it back and saying, here's what it can do. It's not quote legacy. It can still be cutting edge. It can still be modern, and every time a new feature is released on a new model or a new technique in AI, like we're right there. Like Marcus has it ready to go.
Yeah,
he's incredible.
I think that's one of the real key pieces too, is that yes, you can code stuff if you need to, but everything is in the UI. Like it gets back to one of the things that really made Drupal 7 super powerful, which is you could download views and in Drupal 7, 6, whatever, views and feeds and Webform and just point and click your way to a really complex site. And now, with ECA and with AI, like you're not locked into one specific thing. You can use this agent for that piece and this agent for another piece and kind of click your way to a site that does something unique for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like you just mentioned ECA, and I think ECA is another very strong, even without AI, is like You don't need a developer to build new functionality. If all the pieces are there, you can kind of construct your workflow of functionality right there in the UI, and you can use AI with it and extend that. Like, you don't need a developer to kind of come in and kind of tailor make the code. And I think that's like one of the next big pillars of Drupal to me. I think it's the next views, in my opinion, of what it can unlock for like a site builder, dragging and dropping and creating functionality. And I think even ECA is something that not many other CMS systems can claim to have built in anyway. And I know Jürgen is up down the line. He's an incredible developer, and just a great guy to hang out and have a couple beers with and chat.
Oh man, we're always bringing it back to the new show here. Listen, Drupal beers, Drupal coffee, Drupal. Kevin, thank you for joining us. Thank you for supporting and coming on and talking about all the great stuff that you're doing. And just thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. I look forward to being on episode 1000. Look out for that invite.
I see what you did. I see what you did.
10
there.
years.
Thanks a lot, Kevin.
Thanks.
See you.
All right, let's move on to somebody I actually know pretty well. One of my coworkers at EPAM, and probably the third EPAMer to be on the show. Antonio Estevez, how's it going?
Hello, it's going really well. I had a minor accident with I lost a part of my sunglasses.
I feel like you're just trendy. If you were to add a stick, they would be like, what do they call them? Opera glasses?
Yeah, I know, that's perfect. I could be like those two guys on the Muppet Show on the balcony, just like talking.
Statler and Waldorf?
Yeah,
No?
yeah, exactly,
Yeah?
exactly.
Is that right? Was that good?
Mhm.
Okay. So Antonio, you have a number of talents. Used to be a professional break dancer, really
Yes.
amazing artist, right? I understand that you got something in the works with the drop times. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure, I'd love to. So I was just at DrupalCon sketching in my iPad at our EPAM booth, as I do a lot, and I met Anoop John, who saw my drawings. And immediately first off, we hadn't met in person before, and we immediately clicked. It's like I felt like I know him for years, and then we started chatting about my drawings, and he was so excited about the comics that I was drawing, and we came up with this idea to add a comic to the drop times. And so right now we have like a LinkedIn group, and I've been reaching out to some people via my Instagram art account. And what we're doing is I need help with the writing and the comedy parts of it. I can draw pretty well, but I realized I have kind of unrefined ideas. And so be on the lookout for it. And if you have any great ideas, you can find me and
I feel like Nick and Martin are probably going to be like pretty good. Don't take this the wrong way, guys. Nerdy idea generators. All my ideas are not as smart, I think, as maybe their ideas might be. So I look forward to maybe prodding them to contribute.
There's room for lowbrow comedy, I think.
That's perfect. That's exactly where I will fit in. The lowest of brows.
But yeah, so I mean, but in any case, one thing I really wanted to share with everyone on this special episode was this unique opportunity whereas working with Drupal over the years has basically taught me how to program, in the sense that I was more of just a front end developer when I first encountered Drupal, and just being exposed. I feel like every level increase from 5 to 6, 7 to 8, and so on and so forth actually forces you to elevate your game and understand new patterns. And then there's always an example of how to do it right in core or a contributed module, or in the examples module for that matter. So what I found is that I've been able to stay current and competitive in the architecture space just by my involvement with Drupal. And I think that's something that a lot of times, even on Talking Drupal, a lot of times it's we talk about how we have to support younger people getting into it, or rather newer people. It doesn't matter the age; it has to do with the amount of experience. And so the real value proposition there is that you get trained and and you can expand the way that you think about things. And so that's the main thing. That's what drives me when I try to participate in our Asheville meetups or at DrupalCon or take mentor people because I have this overwhelming desire to give back to pay it forward, if you will.
That's awesome, and I definitely agree with that point of view, and giving it back, paying it forward, I think is really, I mean, I don't know. I think it's what we're all about, right? And that's part of the reason why we come in every week and we put together a podcast, is to try to help people, advance their skills, learn new things, and pay it forward. Well, that was an awesome point. Antonio, thank you so much for joining us and, stopping by and sharing your new exciting thing on the drop times. I look forward to your first comic and being able to share that in our newsletter. We appreciate the time.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thanks.
All right. Let's hear from somebody very special to Martin.
Listen, 500 episodes is a big deal for a podcast. Congrats to everyone involved with Talking Drupal. All the best for 500 more.
Martin, who was that?
That was my better half, Jude Anderson Klutz. Yeah.
Wait a second. Have we been mispronouncing your last name this whole time?
Martin Anderson Klutz.
No, that's not what he just said.
I've been called worse. Let's put it that way.
Okay, we'll work on this next episode.
Something to work on for the next 500. Yeah.
Wait a second. I must be. If you've listened to our show, you know I'm a language idiot. What's the difference, Nick?
We say Klutz. He said Klutz.
Huh. Okay. Well, yeah. Then I guess we've been butchering it, and he's just been a polite Canadian and not told us.
Fair enough.
We will correct that.
All right. Well, we fix how to pronounce Martin's name after 100+ episodes. We are going to take a quick break, and we will be right back with more guests, more videos, and more fun.
Hey, John, Nick, and Martin. Congratulations on 500 episodes. Wow. But I thought Steven retired 200 episodes ago.
Well, for those of you that don't know, that was Steven's better half, Erica. And I like to think that Talking Drupal is kind of like the mafia. You're never really out. You might have a little behind the scenes role. You might be, making deliveries, whatever, but like you're never really out. So I'd like to take a second here and just shift from that wonderful video from Erica to just a shout out to the drop times. And they not only interviewed the four of us, but they're also, if you've followed them on LinkedIn, there have been video messages from community members. There have been written messages from community members. I greatly appreciate, their support and giving the community a way to kind of like, publicly speak their mind. So definitely appreciate the videos. If you haven't checked them out, go check them out on their LinkedIn page. Got a bunch of videos from folks there, and it's really awesome. All right. Our next guest is somebody I think everybody pretty much knows. He was the lead of the Project Browser initiative. When I introduce him, I like to suggest people just walk up to him and give him hugs, because he's just a warm and cuddly kind of guy. Hey, there he is, ladies and gentlemen, the CTO at Redfin Solutions, Chris Wells.
Gang's all here.
Chris, welcome to the show.
John, I have to say, I never mind if you introduce me as someone who needs hugs. It's fine. think it's only happened once at one Ned camp. So
Man,
keep it up.
I'm gonna keep trying. I'm gonna keep trying to just have you have to dole out hugs every couple of minutes at a camp. I feel like it's a good goal for me. Good career goal. Chris, how's the weather in the great state of Maine?
It is raining today.
Mm.
We had a frost advisory yesterday.
Oh,
so
come
I was
on.
displeased with that, but it went up quickly. Like it got down to the low 30s, but it was back to like 55 during the day. So just dealing with some humidity, as they say.
Yeah, well, I
And
guess
by
it
that
is.
I mean rain.
It is Maine, I guess. You got some colder temperatures there in the spring stuff.
Yeah, a little bit.
So project browser, you're doing that, and it going well. I'm assuming it's going well.
Yeah. I have to say, if I take issue with anything, it's not the hugs. It's that you said, was project browser, like past tense, but we're still here. We're still powering ahead. Um, I would say that we had a period where Adam from Acquia's DAT, the Drupal acceleration team, stepped in and we crushed a lot. So we had kind of a few months of high activity, got it to a really stable place where Drupal CMS is leaning on Project Browser. We've got great interaction with the Gin theme, like so many great things happened real fast. And then, of course, Adam, busy guy that he is as tech lead of Drupal CMS, has gone off to a number of other areas to sprinkle his magic into a lot of other areas of Drupal CMS. So, we still have a pretty healthy issue queue. We have some great feature enhancements we'd like to get in. So if I'm plugging anything, it's contribution for Project Browser. We can use the help. But it's in a really good place.
I think the end goal is to get it into core. I understand one of the big blockers, correct me if I'm wrong, is package manager getting into core, which is in being stable. Is that kind of the thing that's standing in the way, or are there other things that need to happen for Project Browser to get upgraded to a core?
Yeah, it's really an interesting thing to talk about because Drupal CMS has really shaken up what we think of as Drupal core.
That's true.
Even this last week, I was just thinking about sort of reorganizing the entire thing around, do we need to get into core? It's in Drupal CMS, which is really a great end product for it. So, to answer your question directly, package manager is in core and experimental. We would definitely need package manager to be in core for Project Browser to be in core. But we're really reevaluating whether or not we need that at this point. That was definitely something that in terms of adoption was really important. We needed to be in core in order to have that level of commitment to the project. And Drupal CMS is really, really shaking that up, so we're reevaluating that, whether or not it needs to be.
It's really interesting because up until literally the point where we're having this conversation, I was like, yeah, Project Browser, that should definitely be in core. And now I'm kind of like, meh, maybe it doesn't need to be. I see its use case in Drupal CMS, makes complete sense there. But yeah, I don't know if core really needs that, especially because I don't know, Composer's pretty cool.
I think the argument for Project Browser uses Composer under the hood, but I think the argument I think the argument's changed. The argument for package manager or something like that being in core is much stronger, and for a few reasons. One is the security aspect of that has to be 100% locked down in the way a Contrib module really can't, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it required significant investment from the DA itself to authenticate and set up infrastructure and things like that. And I think the other thing is it's supporting two very large initiatives, right? Package manager is required by Project Browser and automatic updates, I believe, right?
Correct.
So,
Yeah, any of those composer operations are going to go through Package Manager. So as an API module, it makes a lot of sense to be in core. Even TED's, they just released the videos from Atlanta, and so I watched Ted Bowman's about, what can you do with Package Manager now, as an API service for developers, and he showed some things that could be written that were really, really useful and really cool, and even were to some extent an extension of Project Browser, so cool stuff is happening. And I think, it does make a lot of sense for Package Manager for sure, especially like you said, package signing and all that kind of security stuff that we needed for that. But Drupal CMS is really a game changer.
I tend to agree. Obviously, Package Manager. There it is. I'm not talking about Patrick. I'm talking
Patrick's
about
manager.
I'm talking about I'm talking about Package Manager. Anyway, it makes sense for that to be included because it's powering a couple different things. Chris, before we let you go, question on Project Browser and additional browsers for Drupal, such as maybe a recipe browser or I don't know, maybe some sort of AI browser of some sort. Like any thoughts on if those things are going to become a thing in the future?
Yeah, recipe browsing is our next big one. We do have recipe browsing for prepackaged recipes that's kind of available. CMS uses that so that you can enable additional recipes or enable recipes you didn't enable during the installer. But being able to sort of browse Drupal.org contributed recipes is still out there, and it's inching a little bit closer. A lot of that is around decision making around how will we expose recipes through Drupal.org's API and how will we browse them. But some of the decisions on that seem to be locking up a little bit, that they're probably going to be general projects with a new type flag or something on them so that we can just pull any general project of type recipe and surface those. And once that's available from the DA, it's actually based on the APIs and what we've built. It's a pretty lightweight jump, honestly, to being able to have recipe browsing. So that's happening. I think the next thing that I want to see is I'm don't know as much as I should about AI agents, but boy, I can't wait until I can just tell the AI what I want to do, and it can say, oh, well, you should install this recipe and these two modules and configure them this way. Is that okay? And I type yes, and that happens for me. I'm looking forward to that.
Oh man. Well, on that note, we'll leave the possibilities and the future of Project Browser and AI Browser and Site Template Browser and all the browsers into, we'll just cast that out into the future and see where it takes us. Chris, thanks for the support over the years. Thanks for coming on and providing great insights into all the things you're working on. And thank you. Thank you for being you.
Yeah, y'all are wonderful, and y'all are wonderful for the community. So happy to be a small part of it here on Talking Drupal.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thanks, Chris. All right, next let's welcome Stephen Jones of Computer Minds, a longtime member of the Drupal community and also a very prolific Contrib maintainer in his own right. So welcome, Stephen.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
So
see that.
Go ahead, Martin.
Go ahead. No, I was just going to say
we're going to get excited about the same thing. So go ahead.
Right. So definitely one of the projects of yours that I've used before, Stephen, is Views Data Export. Anything new and exciting with that module you can share with us?
So that module has a long and varied history, which I'll get to in a bit. But I just want to take a moment to stop and just sort of congratulate you again on 500 episodes. It's so easy to start stuff, but keeping it going for so long is incredibly hard. So well done to all of you, visible or invisible, behind the scenes. Just well done. A real asset to the community. But getting back to your original question. I guess the new thing is that it's now actually maintained again properly. The sort of back end of last year and start of this year, I've really decided to we put some time into it as a company and give my time to the project so that we can maintain it, because essentially it's just kind of languished for a number of years and kind of sort of stagnated. So so just going through the sort of process of taming the issue queue. Even today, I was teasing apart a single issue that kind of other people had joined on and made a single kind of focused issue into 7 issues, all bundled into one. So kind of teasing those apart, and then seeing where we go with that. So hopefully some good sort of long-term future for that module, and many rows being exported from many websites to come. It's a weird thing to know that this sort of random project that me and my colleague dreamed up a number of years ago is in use by 1 in 7 Drupal sites, and that's just really cool that you can do that sort of thing.
I mean, a number of years ago, it was like 15 years ago. So like this module literally, I feel like is one of the first Drupal modules that I used pretty regularly, because it was like, oh, we need this data out of this, Drupal site into a spreadsheet. What are we going to use? Oh, hey, there's a module for that. So I don't know. We're talking about keeping a podcast going. I mean, I think, module maintainership and keeping a module with 102 sites reporting, almost 103 actually, 1,000 sites reporting using it, running for 15 years is that's pretty good in my book.
Thank you very much.
I imagine that the API for views has changed over the years too.
Yes and no. So someone else came along and did the Drupal 8 port. But broadly, it's sort of similar. The API, the sort of architectural stuff is still the same. There's the odd API difference. I think there's still a to-do in the code base that says, when this interface gets into views, then we can start using that. But that's never gotten into views. So there's still some sort of decent architectural plumbing bits that could be done in core for sure. Yeah.
I also have I have a question on your philosophy, because I've never started a views like helper module, but I've managed to adopt several over the years. And one of the things that I noticed with views data export is you have like a special plugin just for search API. And I find that fairly often views integration modules need to have some special glue for other Contrib modules. And I'm curious about your philosophy around doing that integration. And here's what I mean, because one of the modules I took over, the original maintainer created a submodule for every single integration, right? So if you wanted to handle geofield fields, then you had to install the geofield submodule for that module to access it. But how do you handle integrations with other pieces of Drupal, or has it not come up for this module?
As you say, there's a sort of search API specific integration piece, and that's in some sense because views kind of nicely separates the kind of querying engine from the rendering engine. And so if we want to kind of handle different types of queries that behave in different ways, then we might want to kind of extend different pieces of code from those other modules. And then it sort of makes sense that you might want to sort of segregate that and split it up. So I can see why other modules will go down the line of having lots of submodules and kind of enabling the right one. I guess it potentially is possible that you could, detect that a certain module was enabled and automatically provide that code, but it's getting harder and harder to do that with kind of, as soon as your class is loaded, if the class that it extends isn't around, then you get fatal error and things like that. So you have to be quite careful with code loading, but I think there's multiple ways to do everything in Drupal. That's
we came up with a pretty clever way to do that in ECA Commerce. And one of the first things I had to do in this module, there was a hook requirements that would automatically install these modules if it detected them, and ran into some issues with that. So, but yeah, it's always tricky. So we appreciate you joining us. We have to move on for time, but thank you for joining and thank you for everything that you're doing for the community. It really is a cornerstone module, and I use it multiple times a year.
That's all right. And thank you for everything you're doing. Thank you very much for having me.
Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks. Bye.
And now joining us, so I think you were the first person to jump on this the Zoom call. I think you've been here the whole time. So Jürgen Haas from Lake Drops joining us to chat. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me, and congrats to 500.
Thank you so much.
This is so great. And did you know that you show up as one of the top-ranking tech podcasts if you count episodes? Like, I only found 3 that have more, which is like
really?
TechCrunch and others. So you are amongst the important people in the podcasting sphere, right?
It's interesting you say that, because This Week in Tech, I guess, just celebrated I think their 20th anniversary or something like that. And they're at like I think like I want to say like 1,029 episodes, maybe, or maybe it was 1,200 episodes. I'm not really, I know there's a big difference there, but like I was kind of like, huh. And again, you know, it's kind of been a theme today, but I'm kind of wondering, like, when you get to 1,000 episodes, what's that like? But you know, we'll see. We'll, like I said, we'll work on. I think somebody said 555. We'll put that as a marker to see if we can get there. But enough about us. Let's talk about ECA. So what's new with ECA? I know, again, I keep giving everybody these questions where it's like, hey, I could fill like 30 minutes just talking about this, but like, I'm sure you can do it in an abridged version.
I try my best. Yeah, well, ECA is doing really well. Only on this show, there have been already at least 3 people who contributed to it, which is Nick with ECA Commerce that he just mentioned before. Then Martin contributed the menu integration into ECA, and Jacob Rockwitz, only this week, he contributed a reporting tool which shows you an overview of all the plugins that are available on your site and which of those are actually in use and how often and in which context. So it shows that ECA really sees some significant traction. People seem to like it a lot. The numbers are going up. It's very stable. It's moving on silently. It made its way into Drupal CMS, which is for me very exciting, really. But we still have great plans moving forward as well. So there is a lot to come still.
So I imagine, and I think Kevin touched on this a bit, like I feel like ECA is one of those modules that's very you know, it basically adds, and I'm oversimplifying here, but it basically adds a, you know, that UI to like a lot of the things and the logic that you sometimes need to build in Drupal, right? I'm wondering, like, what does the AI integration there look like? Because I imagine I imagine as Drupal kind of picks up AI momentum, right? Like I feel like AI and ECA could be that, like, you know, a great combination to make, you know, a very powerful AI backend for Drupal.
So you just put another 30 minutes on that budget, right?
Well,
yeah.
I feel like it's a show.
It is really exciting to see that both camps, if that's the right word for it, are moving along very successfully. And then only early this year, we realized how much overlap there actually has been, and that both camps can really benefit from each other. And by working together, it's just more than 1 + 1. You know, AI and ECA together is just, hard to imagine what it will be able to do in the future. Like, for example, take the action plugins that we have available in ECA. something that ECA hasn't actually invented. That's something that was available in core from day one, I believe. And ECA just picked up on it, and we developed, well, not just ECA itself, but lots of integration modules have done that as well. And we count more than 1,000 action plugins as of today. All of those can be utilized by AI, and probably even more so by the new kid on the block, which is called MCP. So something like, in short words, something like a generic API between servers on the internet. And Drupal, again, is one of the early players in the MCP world. And with all the action plugins from ECA, if we get them together in the right way, all of them will suddenly be available to everybody who is asking questions to a Drupal server, either to retrieve information or to get the Drupal site to do something with the content, with the config or whatever.
Yeah, so, I recently on that saw a video, and this is on Dries's blog, of Dries was with, I think it was Marcus, and they used Twilio to create like a, well, basically have Drupal call somebody's phone. I think it was, I think it was Marcus's phone. And, Dries was able to have a conversation with Drupal over the phone. And I was just like, oh man, like, A, this is cool. A, B, it's a little frightening, but C, this is cool. So, I think, I don't know. I'm super excited about it. I'm excited in the direction that it's moving. And, I appreciate your time and efforts in helping build ECA and kind of making it a staple of making people's lives easier with Drupal.
I think, to me, what's exciting about that too is I think Drupal was one of the early CMSs to really be sort of responsive and mobile friendly. And when you think about that voice integration, now you can think of people potentially making updates to their Drupal site via wearables and that entire new class of technologies as well, which is, again, very exciting.
Once I can get Drupal in my Apple glasses, I will be very happy. Yes, that is true. Well, Jürgen, thank you again for all your work on ECA, and thank you for stopping in to share your thoughts.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for
carry on with Talking Drupal. I need that once a week.
Oh, we will. For at least another 5 to 50 episodes. We'll see. All right, joining us next, as promised, Thomas Scola, the CEO of Bluefly.io.
Hey, nice to see you guys. What's happening, Martin?
Great to be seen. So Norah did tell us a little bit about Bluefly.io. I know that you used to be an Acquian, you shifted gears a little bit, and now you're running Bluefly. What was the motivation there? I mean, like, you could have gone out and gotten another job, but you decided to start your own thing. We've had a couple of people starting their own companies. I'm just curious, what was the motivation?
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate that, John. Yeah, so as Martin knows, when I was over at Acquia, I was kind of it was my family, you know what I mean? And when I got let go, I really felt like I was kicked out of a family, and it was a opportunity. It was something that kind of crushed me, and instead of going down, I looked at it as an opportunity to work with all my friends again. So I started just calling up people that I worked with at Acquia that also left, and pretty sooner or later it started growing, and we all started meeting in the Slack room, and from there just innovation started happening. I mean, we're up to 45 former Acquians and 70 across the world, and we're all in the same Slack rooms, and we built the whole company open source. So every single product we're using is built out of open source software, and yeah, we're just really trying to build a collaborative impact on our community.
Go ahead, Nick.
Sorry, John. I try to use open source everywhere I can. What's your Figma?
Yeah.
What do you use for Figma?
Yeah, so that one, we're not really using Figma right now, like very little, you know what I mean? We haven't figured that out yet. We have 3 of them on our Slack room, we have a room that goes through all the different open source technologies, but we're using Mattermost and DocuSeal, and we've actually integrated Drupal fully in with ECA fully into the GitLab API. And so we're able to like streamline deployments to Kubernetes right from Drupal interfaces, and you know, a lot of other kind of really cool stuff's happening. We've built Helm charts for 20 or 30 different open source softwares, and we're deploying them on our applications to use within the collective and giving them to the collective people if they need to spin something up or use them.
Wow.
Yeah,
I think with ECA, the external, like Drupal being the hub for things is going to come back to the forefront. I mean, it's been like that for years, but it requires a lot of custom code. But with ECA, it might open it up to more, you know, point and click type coding.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of innovation happening. John, sorry we didn't get to connect at Engage. You know, I was also there, and yeah, the energy in the room was pretty good, and it was good to see Kevin and the rest of the crew.
Yeah, I did. I kept seeing you like, oh, you're over there, and then you're over there, and I was trying to like, you know, they get time to chat, but you know, as it happens at those conferences, it's not always as easy to talk to everybody that you want to.
Yeah, definitely.
Before we let you go, curious, going back to Bluefly, everybody there a contractor, actual employee? Like how is that working?
Yeah, definitely. So we're a collective of contractors, and some of us have full-time jobs, some of us are doing it part-time, and I actually am a full-time employee of GitLab, which is an incredible organization, and I'm one of their you know, customer success architects. But we're also GitLab partners, and you know, we're getting work from GitLab, and we're you know, they're fully transparent and aware of Bluefly, and it's been a really great relationship. There's I think 18 former Ocleans over there, so it's you know, it's all, the whole point is that it's all about people. It's all about us all working together, and you know, trying to lower those barriers.
It's Drupal, the great connector.
It really is. No, definitely. So I started back in 2003, 4.1, and I've been managing the Drupal user group of Maine with Chris Wells, Leslie, Todd Wiffenden, you know, Adam Carmanci, you know, since 07, you know, so like, you know, we have a good community up here, up in Maine, and, you know, thank you guys. Congratulations on the 500, excited for the next 500, and come on anytime you guys want to chat.
Awesome, Tom. Thanks so much, and you just made me tired again.
Sorry to hear.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay.
All right.
Well, thank you for having me on.
Hey,
Appreciate
absolutely.
it.
Great seeing you.
All right. Coming to us next, somebody who's been on the show quite a few times. I don't actually remember. Was it 8, 9? Was it more than that?
21.
21
well,
times total.
Yeah, that's counting skills upgrade and guest.
Yeah, if we count the miniseries.
Okay. Well, Chad Hester, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, and congrats. I think are the appropriate thing right now. You know, Talking Drupal has been such a wealth of information, and I think what you've done for our community is absolutely incredible. So thanks for doing that so far, and thanks for continuing to do that.
Thank you for that. Thank you for your involvement and your willingness to, for lack of better words, be a guinea pig in our educational endeavors. I will say, going back to Drupal Camp Baltimore, is that a Drupal Camp or a DrupalCon Baltimore shirt I see you wearing there?
Yes, DrupalCon 2017.
There you
Martin
go.
knows.
All right, we're bringing the show full circle here, Martin.
I got another T-shirt for you, and this is from 2011.
What? There you go. Other way. Keep going. Oh, look at that.
Oh,
awesome.
It's a WebChick shirt. Drupal 7. Oh.
Signed by Angie and Joe.
Wow. Look at that. Oh, right underneath there. Oh, I thought that was part of the T-shirt. Oh, that is cool. All right. There you go. So, Chad, I have to ask, because I know that you're a digital nomad of sorts.
Yeah.
Where are you right now?
We are in a place called Sunshine Coast, not Australia, but Canada. So if you know where Vancouver Island is, we're across the water, just north of that. So if I wanted to get to Vancouver proper, it would take me about 3 hours because there's a ferry and there's a drive. So we're really out in the middle of nowhere, but we live on a lake just at the north tip of Garden Bay Lake. So if you want to look it up on a map, that's where we are. But if you see this really bright sun out there, that's why they call it Sunshine Coast. It is sunny almost all the time. If it rains a day, then it gets sunny again.
As my resident Canadian, Martin, I'm sure you're familiar with that place. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Actually, hoping to get out there this summer because I do have a friend who lives out on Vancouver Island. But yeah, beautiful part of the country. Absolutely.
And if the ferries stop working, we're stuck. that's what happens.
That oddly feels kind of nice to me, but I don't know. It might be also not so nice depending on how long you're stuck for.
Well, we've prepared for this sort of things. This is a freshwater lake, so I mean we have plenty of water. We grow our own food, and we're not off grid, but off grid adjacent, I guess. My wife and I, Shelley was on a few of the episodes, but my wife and I are looking into getting our Canadian citizenship at the end of the year. We'll be eligible. We've been permanent residents, so they can't kick us out unless we're treasonous. But yeah, it's really beautiful here. Hiking, snowshoeing, snorkeling, kayaking. Like we're dug into the BC lifestyle.
That's awesome. Nick, do you know the show number in which we talk about being a digital nomad?
That would have been episode 428, Digital Nomads.
There you go.
Wife
you
Shelley
can hear.
Joined us to
yeah,
chat
you can hear all about that. Well, Chad, like I said, thank you for joining us. Thank you for supporting the network and providing us with great insights and great content.
Yeah, for sure. One other thing before I forget, I started a group called Pacific Time Virtual Drupal Users Group. Rolls right off the tongue, but it's monthly meetups every Wednesday, and it's virtual just to make it accessible to a large group of people. Anybody can come, but it's specifically timed for Pacific time zone, 6 to 8 o'clock. So we have one coming right up next week.
6 to 8 o'clock p.m.
p.m. Yep.
p.m. Okay.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Chad.
Thanks a lot,
Yep.
Chad.
Thank you. Take care.
Chad. All right. Our next guest on the show is the Drupal developer I would like to be when I grow up. So welcome back to the show, Matt Glaman.
Hey, everybody.
Welcome. I love that intro. That is
That's good.
Yeah, that's amazing. So Matt, tell us about, I don't know if it was the last time you were on the show, but I remember we started talking about deprecations because you were pretty heavily involved in Rector. Now you're more closely involved in PHP Stand. But the issue that I remember triggered that discussion, the deprecation of annotations and plugins, that's finally RTVC and about to be merged. What do you think about that? Have you been keeping up with that at all?
I purposely have not been because I'm trying to avoid like any heartache and heartburn. But it won't be that bad. It's I looked at it. I remember when it first came up, I was like, how are we going to handle this? And I was like, you know what I'm really good at? When there's a really ridiculous big problem, I complain about it for a little bit. I did that before. It'll come in my lap and somehow I'll solve it, or we'll all solve it. So like at first I was really worried about it, and I said like, let's let it land. And then we can see what it's like to actually handle deprecating annotated plugins.
Yeah, I think the exciting thing is they came up with a similar solution for hook info, which is you don't deprecate it directly. You just deprecate not having the fallback, which is, I think, what they did here. So they deprecated. So if you have a plugin class that doesn't support attributes, you'll get a deprecation notice saying that you have to provide support for both.
My eyes just went crossed there.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
same
the only way
here.
you can do it, right? That's good.
Same here. I don't even want to think about deprecated hooks and detecting those in PHP Stand. So for people who are wondering, this is less about Rector more so, but more so like your PHP Stand scans, like, or if you're still using Drupal check, you know, it says like, hey, you've implemented a block, but you've got PHP doc annotations instead of using traits.
Man, I like the alliteration there of PHP Stand scans. I just want to add like man to the end of it and be like, you know, hey, you really got
Stand scans, man.
Yeah, exactly. You got it. Matt, I was actually reminded just the other day about our work long ago on Drupal Commerce, and you know, used to spend a lot of time on Drupal Commerce working for Commerce guys, right? Somebody had replied to a issue that we had gone back and forth on with a patch, and I'm like, wait, what is this? Why am I getting this? And I'm like, oh, look at that. Oh yeah, I remember that. Like we were working on some big commerce project. Yeah, there was no real question there. I apologize. But I was just like, oh yeah, remember that time Matt and I worked on commerce together? That was fun.
You know, there's actually a lot of issues that like also like, get popped up because, you know, commerce is hard. So there's a lot of issues that like kind of set or they're for a feature case, kind of like core, right? Like all of a sudden, like 10 years later, it gets revived and finished. And I was like, those are great memories. Actually, that's one great part. I realized I'm now like 12 years into Drupal, I think. Yeah, I get hitting 12 this fall. But like just having so much activity in issue queue, there's like little memories that come popping up whenever there's like an old issue that gets a little bit of love.
Yeah, that's I was so my involvement in core is a lot fresher than that, but I've jumped off the deep end, and I'm curious, how do you manage when you're deep into something, how do you manage that? Because for me, I just created a Google sheet where I could track all the important related issues. Like metas work and they're great for finding from one thing to another, but just remembering the number of issues is sometimes.
Do you want to know the secret? Don't, and then people yell at you because you forgot about an issue. That's one approach, but honestly, so I don't know how many people actually use Contrib Kanban nowadays, but at a previous job at Gaggle, we were building a product that was built with, like we used Panoply as our base. So we were extending Panoply, which was extending things. And I had to track like 100 different issues and patches we were using, so that patches Panoply used, and then we also used. So Contrib Kanban was my way of tracking those issues and watching them get to completion and taking in releases. So Contrib Kanban was like my solution for it. When I was tracking more things on the end, when I was like doing stuff with commerce, less because like we're in the queue. It's kind of like our projects. People paid us to build. We were tracking the patches in their projects. But now I'm on the whole, like I touch stuff. Eventually somebody will tap me on the shoulder and say, hey, remember you worked on this thing? We kind of need you to review it.
That's hilarious. All right, thank you, Matt, for joining us. It's always a pleasure to have you on. We'll have to have you back because I think Drupal 12 is around the corner. I mean, we're a little bit over a year
next
away,
summer,
but yeah, about a year away. But I bet you like composer, lenient, and all that kind of stuff. Preparation starts a little early, so
yep,
sure we can have you back to chat about that at some point.
Sounds good. Thanks
so
for
much.
doing the show, guys.
I appreciate it. Joining us now is James Abrams with Freely Give. I don't know what we could possibly chat about with you, but I suspect it's going to be something AI related. So what do you got cooking?
Yeah, I just wanted to do a shout out. This T-shirt's from Drupal Dev Days Burgers, and it was made by the dev team there. And that's where a lot of this AI stuff started. And so this is the only item of clothing I get where strangers will stop me and then compliment my clothing. And it just came from a Drupal event, so I just thought it was really fun.
Is that a fractal? It looks like a fractal.
It's actually like a Bulgarian, like a very common Bulgarian like symbol. Yeah, cool. But yeah, I mean, AI world, we've got a ton of stuff going on. It's been a wild ride. I've been listening to this, and this AI keeps coming up in almost everything. So I've been sending messages on LinkedIn of like, oh well, we could work on that. Like we have been working on a project browser AI thing. We've been obviously working a lot with ECA. So it's been quite exciting. Yeah.
So as I often do with the show, I am going to use this time to answer a question that's been on my mind that I need help from you to answer. I'm actually in the process of replying to an RFI on AI Drupal features, and I'm wondering let's see, I think it was the last Dries note. Dries showed a video that he said you helped him work on, where you put a picture into Drupal and it produced a component. Now, here comes a question. I'm wondering, are there like step-by-step directions on how I could do that locally myself?
Well, I'm hoping as early as next week, we're going to actually have the code for that thing on Drupal.org. So it's going to go into Experience Builder itself. And so you'll be able to just install that module there. Fabulous. The main thing that we're working on with that is we need to get it looping. So because React, it's just so interesting how we're going to do this kind of stuff with React, because everything exists in your browser. And so the agents don't even know what the component looks like that it's just built. So we have to try and find ways of like taking screenshots, sending it back to the agents, looping, and trying to get it right itself. But that will be the easiest way is hopefully next week, just going into a branch or an issue in Experience Builder to try it out.
That'll be perfect, because I won't actually need the demo until like next week or the week after. So yeah, you guys get an extra week if you can just kind of work that
That's
out.
good to know. Yeah.
I will say, like, I know, and I'm going to give you a second to tell us about Freely Give. But you guys have been doing so much work on AI and building an API that everybody can use, and like such amazing work. I've started, and I can't take credit for this term, but like I've started thinking of Drupal as the like AI native CMS. And, that's in large part to the work that you're doing. Like, thank you so much for doing that. And I think like you're definitely helping Drupal get to that next level of like greatness. So
yeah, it's been so exciting. Like I've seen so many people come alive again where they've been involved in Drupal for a while, but this AI stuff has just got them. I mean, you've even seen Dries for a lot of his blog posts and his videos. This AI stuff has really like sparked him. We did a hackathon with the European Commission, and the plans to do another one this year. And the energy in the room was so wild, watching like these Drupal agencies who've been doing this for a while just come alive. So I'm really excited by what AI has done, and this community has just been growing. More and more organizations are coming in. We're getting more organized. We're exploring what we can do in an official capacity with the DA, and try and grow this thing beyond Freely Give. I mean, it already is a lot bigger than Freely Give now, but we really want to push things to the next level. The thing I keep thinking about is like LangChain, I think, has about 55 full-time employees. So can we get to a point where we've got 55 people, full-time equivalent people working on the AI ecosystem in all of the Drupal community? I don't think that's too hard to do, and so we could have it so that the Drupal community working together on this is a force to be reckoned with, even against like the proprietary Silicon Valley world.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree. I tend to agree with that vision, and I think, like as you said, like Freely Give kind of started this whole thing up, but more people have kind of jumped in to help out. Can you tell us a little bit more about Freely Give and what you guys do, and kind of like the elevator pitch, if you will?
Yeah, me and my business partner, we started building actually like church websites. We tried to make a PHP BB based CMS about 20 years ago. So like a dynamic CMS where conversations could suddenly turn into content. And then we got into Drupal, particularly focusing on native Drupal CRM. And so I tend to build websites that are like 100 people using it for 8 hours a day, rather than thousands of people using it for 8 minutes or 10 minutes. And so there's a lot of overlap with ECA, obviously, because we do a lot of stuff to do with automation. In our world, Drupal is really easy to use. Views is a dream compared to all the things that we are porting people to. And I got a bit fed up with running an agency to some degree. I have a business partner, but I got fed up, became a stay-at-home dad. ChatGPT hit. I just got obsessed. Initially, I was terrified, and then gradually, I kind of got more excited. And so I've been great. We're still doing this CRM stuff and the contacts, and I really want to go back to that as well. But at the moment, I've been porting our company to becoming like an AI company, really.
I can honestly say that I feel like you are probably the best dad, because at no point in my career have I ever gotten so fed up at Drupal that I thought, or at website building in general, that I thought, that's it, I am going to go be a stay-at-home dad. So like, I'm sure that you're phenomenal at that. But that's awesome. I mean, I think it's an amazing story. And like the amount of, I don't know, the amount of support that you guys have been able to put into AI and kind of the thought leadership there is like, I don't know, it's inspirational, to say the least.
Yeah, well, thanks for saying that. Like my hope is by Vienna, we'll still be a big deal in the AI space, but I'm really hoping it's going to get a lot bigger, a lot more agencies that come on and provide that kind of leadership. We're seeing it already happen behind the scenes. And so I'm hoping by Vienna, it's going to be more than Freely Give working on AI, and it's going to be like a huge community-wide thing. I think, although, Freely Give were heavily involved at the beginning, Kevin from Villiers really started a lot of this with a bunch of us. And so day one, it was more than one company. And so I'm hoping that's what it's going to continue with. That this is going to be a community-wide thing. One of my dreams is a kind of an AI leveling up initiative in the DA. So something where we really push converting almost every agency into becoming an AI first agency. We kind of, rather than it being a case of Freely Give, are one of the few AI experts. It would be good if, like, you go to Drupal, you find AI experts, they can build you things quickly, swarms of agents, applications, stuff to do with AI search. So that's my dream of where I'm hoping we'll see us go.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, Jamie, thanks again for joining us, and thanks again for all the hard work on AI, and keep it up.
Cool. Thanks a lot. I'll speak to you soon.
Thanks, Jamie.
All right. I would like to say that our next guest needs no introduction, but he joined us just a couple of weeks ago as a guest host, and talked about the YMCA. But here now, joining us, Avi Schwab from ImageX. Oh,
it's really hard to do the YMCA dance reversed on a narrow screen. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
Hey, folks, welcome.
Congratulations. I keep waving to people, and my hand is off.
You're like,
screen.
bye.
See you later.
Why doesn't anybody wave back? Nick's like wondering, and
you just have to wave right in front of your face. It's like super awkward.
Like what was that dance move where like guys would be like, yeah,
jazz hands?
No. It was, I don't know. Or maybe it was like this. It was like this.
Sorry. Oh yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Let's start talking dance Drupal.
I think this qualifies under Avi's topics he wants to talk about. Something else. Dance moves.
Something else.
Podcast dance moves.
So I've been no, I'm not gonna podcast dance move. Chad was breaking out his shirts. I had to pull this off my shelf. This is
a blast from the past.
This is the Drupal. This is from my first Drupal event. It's also signed. So Addie, Eaton, Angie, all of the others right there.
All right. Well, I guess I feel like Nick's gonna pull out some Drupal something or other too.
Okay, yeah. So since we're pulling out science stuff, I have Tim Lennen's book here. I should have showed this when he was on.
Oh, nice.
I have a signed copy. So
okay. Well, I'm gonna go. I won't be able to hear you for a second while I go get this thing. Talk amongst yourselves, and I'm gonna go bring my thing. It's not signed, but creepy nonetheless. Hold on.
If it's not signed. No, I'll do a pitch. We were at the community summit. We had a great like Drupal bingo at the community summit. Somebody put it together. Did John put it together? But it was like find people who like have all these different things. And so somebody who's contributed code, whatever. And one of them was find somebody who's read Fog and Fireflies. And I was like one of the only people in the community summit who'd read it. And I just want to say, for all the Drupal people out there, you should go buy Tim's book and read it. It's super fun.
It's very good.
It's a great read, and it's fantastic.
It's fiction. You have to enjoy fiction.
Yeah.
But it's a great book.
See, I only listeners may know this. It takes me forever to read books, but I only ever read like technical books. I don't ever like people are like, "Oh, you don't read for enjoyment?" And I go, "No, reading is not like one of those things that I find enjoyable. Like playing video games, watching movies, playing sports, playing board games. There's a whole list of things before like reading that I would be like, oh boy. I think the last thing that I read for air quotes enjoyment was like Harry Potter.
So I'm starting to do a little more sailing lately. And one of my buddies told me that I needed to read Moby Dick. And so now I'm reading Moby Dick. And talk about long books.
They call me Ishmael.
It's kind of phenomenal. It's a real blast from the past. But I'm also learning a lot about, the Northeast that so from 200, 300 years ago, whatever.
Yes, we have great history up here in the Northeast. Speaking of history, another great idea coming out of this show that somebody should take up and run with is a Drupal museum. Right? Wouldn't it be great if somebody had like a place where we could send all of this stuff, like loan all this stuff out to a Drupal museum, and people could kind of go through and be like, "Oh, look at this. It's a Webchick shirt that, is on loan from Chad Hester that's been signed." And like, things like this could be in there where it's like, "Hey, it's a creepy Dries mask.
I knew
is that
that's
John
what you were getting.
Picozzi or is that Dries? I don't know." Right? I like to bring that thing out every so often. I don't even remember what DrupalCon they were giving this away at, but
I don't think he was ever that blonde. I mean, I know he used to have the blonde highlights, but
yeah. I was just I mentioned to one of the folks at ImageX where I work casually the other day. I was like, I'm going to be at MidCamp in a couple weeks, but really like every day I'm Drupaling, and so I'll be able to get a couple meetings. And they didn't really like understand what I was talking about. They're like, "Oh yeah, I know that song." I was like, "Do you know that song, or do you know the Drupal remix of that song?" And so I also dug up the YouTube playlist of like all of the Drupal songs, and the Dries mask was in one of those videos.
So
it was super creepy.
It looks like that might be from DrupalCon Austin, which was actually my first DrupalCon.
that makes sense.
But like even that, like I feel like there could be a wall of Drupal songs, right? Like I don't know, like a Drupal museum. That's like the third great idea to come out of this show today.
I could talk to the folks at the Field Museum in Chicago, and maybe next year at DrupalCon Chicago, we could all visit it, because I'm sure that will be top on their list of.
Or better, you could be like, "Listen, you guys should do an exhibit on open source technologies. I have an in with the Drupal community, and I'm sure I could get some great stuff from them."
There you go. That might work at the Museum of Science and Industry too, which is also in Chicago, and a fun place to visit.
Well, all right.
But what is MOSA?
I'll talk about MOSA. MOSA is the Midwest Open Source Alliance, and
so it's not a museum. I thought it was going to be a museum of something. That's why I was trying to segue. So bad segue, but tell us about
it is not
MOSA.
a museum.
Jeez, do your research. Go ahead.
It is a repository of Drupal folks who have lost their fiscal sponsors and need a place to put their money. And so now we hold money for a lot of people, and we're trying to build more facilities for Drupal organizations in the US to do their things without have to worrying about money and infrastructure and all those things. So we're trying to provide resources for folks.
It's a noble cause to provide support for Drupal events. Avi was the longtime president of the event organizers working group as well. So Avi has some experience with Drupal events. So this is an extension of that.
Yeah. No, it all started. They actually there was a Drupal camp Chicago before MidCamp happened, and it was like that was one of the first events that I started like volunteering at. It was because it was on campus. It was like 3 blocks away from my office, and I was like, "Hey guys, I do Drupal. You do Drupal. Can I like do stuff there?"
I feel like that should be a Drupal song. I do Drupal, you do Drupal, let's all do Drupal together.
So I think what we've learned today is that this podcast should only be talking and not singing or dancing.
I'm glad you said it and not me,
Huh.
but I definitely want to clip that, Stephen.
Yeah, I might have just done something there that I will regret inevitably at some point. Well,
it's okay. There are 500 of these. You should. I'm sure there are a few of those takes. Maybe.
Well, yeah, but see, here's the magic. I'll let you in on a little secret. Nick and
We don't
Steven
record live.
Nick and Steven have done a wonderful job of making me sound way smarter in the actual show than in what is actually recorded. So big props to them. But Avi, thanks for joining us. Thanks for stopping in, and thanks for all you do.
Thanks, guys. Congrats.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Avi.
All right, joining us from the cab of a truck, our friend and yours, trucker. No, just kidding. Josh Mitchell. Josh, how's it going?
Show again. Just can't wait to get on the show again.
Oh, Josh sounds
Be
way
talking
better.
Drupal with me and my friends. Just can't wait to get on the show again. Breaker, I'm reaching out to John the Cozy Pacozy, Nick, I Ain't Laughlin, Fu Man Clue, and Stephen, don't be cross now, to say congratulations on episode 500. Straight from Puckett, Mississippi. Well, actually, outside of Puckett, Mississippi.
I mean, you certainly get the beard for it.
I mean, I feel like anytime I need something sung now, I'm just gonna come knocking.
Oh, I love doing that. I take requests around the campfire. It's fun.
How's Mississippi?
It is about 83 degrees, sitting at about 85% humidity, and there's supposed to be thunderstorms tonight. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Got up at 5 something this morning Atlanta time and drove straight over. I've got the truck about half unloaded right now, so see how it goes.
And you're helping somebody move. That's why you're in a truck.
Yeah, my mother actually grew up right in this area. There's a 100-acre farm that her siblings all kind of split up not that long ago, and she found a house with my dad that's just like a quarter mile from a couple of my aunts, and they're moving in here for the last of their retirement. And so my brother and I had some of their stuff in his house in Atlanta, and we brought it over. So it's been fun.
That's awesome. That sounds like a really great road trip, actually.
Yeah, we've been having fun. We passed through, this was one of the best place names I've ever seen. We passed through Chunky, Mississippi today. And I was like, Chunky? And I'm driving at this time. So I'm looking at my brother and I'm like, hey, can you look up? We've been to Mississippi so many times. I'm like, I've never heard of Chunky. Apparently it's a Chautauqua name-ish. I mean, it's the Anglicanized version of it, and it stood for like a disc and spear Native American game that used to be played. Kind of crazy.
I bet they have
Very
really
small.
good soup and chocolate chip cookies.
They only have 340 people, which funny story about 300 people. So Puckett, Mississippi, which is about 3 miles from where my parents are, the population sign actually says 300 good, friendly folks and a few old soreheads.
That's hilarious. That's too funny.
Oh, wow. So, Josh, you've been on a couple of times. You've been a guest host a couple of times. Every time we mention that you were shepherding the Drupal Association as CTO for a little while there, right? You've been a community member for how long now?
So according to my main account, about 17 years. That's about how long I've been doing a lot of active Drupal, but I do have an older account that I never had kind of joined with my first one from the first time I installed Drupal. That's about 19 and a half years old. So if you look up Mobile Hippie, he doesn't have much associated to him, but you can tell it's me if you kind of compare some of the data on it.
Is that like mobile as somebody that moves around, or mobile like Mobile, Alabama?
No, Mobile Hippie is the first domain name that I ever registered because I cycled a lot and I'm kind of crunchy. Let's face it.
So that just gave me an idea for a show, as far as like a show about domains and just like, hey, what random domains do you have? But anybody that's joining us right now that's in the chat, if you have any great domain names that you own, toss them in there. I just got some renewals myself, and I've got the reluctantdeveloper.com, which I enjoy. And then
that's a good one.
heybigguy.net, which is funny, and there's a little bit of a backstory there, but I will not share that right now. It's nothing weird, but anyway, domains, drop them in. I wanna see what people have. But
how many of you have bought the domain name of your children so that they could have their name.com? Because I did that for both my kids. They've got their name.com ready to go for them if they ever need it.
Yeah, I have first name, last name.com for both of my kids in both long and short format. And listeners will know that a few years ago, probably like 4 or 5 now, I picked up Pacosi.com after getting it from some defunct Italian company. So yeah, anyway, moving on from domain names and getting back into Drupal. Like I said, Josh, you've been CTO of the Drupal Association. You've been with Drupal for 17 plus years. I'm wondering, like, over the course of that expanse, we'll say, like what's the big impact there? What's the big thing that you take away from that as, like, either life-changing or inspirational?
Yeah, I think Drupal had a lot to do with just building my my career and giving me opportunities to do really successful, ambitious projects kind of early on. And then, of course, like the time at the association, I love the fact that issue credits is something that I can kind of pin my name to. The composer facade, I had the team that was building that stuff, and of course, it wasn't just me. It's people like Brian Aslett and Drum and Rudy. There's so many people that were involved in building those solutions. It's super cool to have been able to create a set of tools that are used by so many people to build cool open source software. That's what I love about what I've been able to be a part of.
Yeah, I think something that we haven't mentioned on this show, but we've definitely mentioned it in the past, is like Drupal as a digital public good is something that, I don't know. I think anybody that builds Drupal can feel pretty good about that. Like, they're working to build a system, better a system that, is impacting a lot of people globally, not just in one geographic area. I imagine from where I sit, you had a little part in doing that. That must feel pretty good.
It was super cool. I mean, stuff that we got to work on, like all the early infrastructure stuff, like moving over to Fastly so we could deliver the insane amount of updates that Drupal 7 represented, because that was really peak Drupal 7 when we were setting that stuff up. That was very cool. The launch of Drupal 8, that was November 2015, that was kind of transformational for the community. And while it may have taken a while for modern Drupal to really get its hooks into people, it's so powerful and kind of the envy of some other open source systems that are out there right now. So,
well, Josh, as always, thanks for joining us. We'll let you escape the cab of your truck to some air conditioning, hopefully.
Actually, I'm going to say something that kind of surprised me. When I walked out here and I opened the 2 doors and just sat here with the kudzu breeze coming through, it was poetic, man.
There you go. All right. Well, thanks again for joining us, and we look forward to having you on the next 50 to 100 to 1,000 episodes.
You guys keep having them. Love you all. Take it easy.
Thanks a lot. Have a good day.
Thanks, Josh.
Bye-bye.
Now joining us for his second episode, James Shields, longtime patron and listener of the show. Thank you for joining us.
Congratulations on your 500 episode. Really happy to be part of it.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. And I see that you got the Talking Drupal shirt. Is that the one that Martin brought you, or?
Martin delivered to me, I think. Was it Amy June?
Martex works.
Or was it Amy
It was
June?
probably,
I can't remember now.
I think it was Amy June, because I remember the first time I met you at Dev Days in Vienna, you were already wearing it. So.
Oh man, now my FedEx Martin joke isn't as funny.
Anyway, I think Stephen tried to post it to me, and somehow it got mislaid, but got it delivered. So
there you go.
Yeah,
I see you're in a cockpit of sorts. Is that an X-wing or?
It is. You can't see much of it in the narrow view, I'm afraid, but
huh, interesting. So I will say that a very profound Talking Drupal memory for me is actually meeting James in person in Ireland last year. I think it was.
I think it was last summer sometime.
Yeah. It was
in a pub.
It was great. Had the best iced Irish coffee. I still talk about it to this day. And the conversation was excellent as well. We talked about all sorts of Drupal-y things. So that was very cool.
Yes. So I've met John and Martin. Haven't met Nick yet.
Yeah, we haven't met in person yet. But so I think one of the things that you're most known for recently, at least in the Drupal community, is the Drupal Advent Calendar, which you put an incredible amount of work into it. It's only May right now. Are you already planning 2025's iteration? And do you have a plan to maybe spread out the work with the community a little bit better this year, so you're not scrambling last minute?
I hope so. I have an idea, but I haven't figured out how to make it work yet. So I'm kind of I have a vague backup idea as well. So I kind of need to figure out if I can make my main idea work. So I might talk to some of you, because I think John was one of the people that's suggested something along what I'm thinking. So I will chat with people and see if I can make the primary idea work, and if not, kind of. Last year I was thinking about it same way, and I ended up pivoting at the last possible moment, which was foolish of me. So I this year, I'll sort of solidify the idea earlier, and if I can make the main idea work, we'll go with that. If not, we'll come up with an alternative.
I'm interested. I'm interested to see what the main idea is, because I don't actually remember what my suggestion was. I'm a little frightened to see what comes. But hey, we'll see. Sometimes
I also have advent calendar stickers that
nice.
I'm sharing with some people. So if I see any of you, actually, I think Amy June has a stack of them. Oh, John has one. Good.
I do, right here on my desk. I'm working on I don't have the poster readily available, but I'm working on a poster board of all my Drupal camp stickers. So
by the way, James, one other thing you might consider is following on with what seems to have been a theme of the show, and enlist some AI help to populate the content for your site this year as well. So
it's a good idea. I haven't used it very much. It's interesting that there's another community I'm involved with that are very anti-AI, and it's interesting how the attitudes among different communities vary, and sort of so I'm involved with science fiction conventions, and the World Science Fiction Convention just in the last couple of days revealed that they had been using AI for speaker validation, and this has caused a bit of a controversy. So so I'm all for the kind of ethical use of AI, and I think it needs to be. It's something that needs to be. There's a lot to be learned about still, and I think it's kind of. I think Drupal has been doing some good work on it, because I think some organizations have been kind of charging straight in, and Drupal has been a bit more, kind of taking a more of a measured approach. And I think an example is using it in contributions. We expect people to disclose if they're using AI, and that AI generated
I think,
contribution needs to be properly reviewed by a human, which is really important.
I think going back to your example from Worldcon is like, there's never using an algorithm to help make decisions is fine, and those algorithms can be flawed. We know that, but like you have that algorithm, you can't, whether it's private or public or open source, it is something that somebody somewhere can inspect, right? And one of the things with AI that hasn't fully been worked out yet is that the internals of AI is very much a black box, and you don't have a way to truly audit kind of what happened or why a decision was made, right? And so I think that's one of the places where it can be a little bit difficult. But anyway, we're approaching the end of this marathon show. We very much appreciate you, James, for joining us and for always chiming in on Slack and adding onto the show in your own way, because you always have great takes on something that we talked about on the show. So we always appreciate that.
Cool. I think it's really exciting that you've got to 500 episodes, and I think a lot of podcasts struggle to make it into double digits. So it's a great achievement, and so I think well done to all of you for keeping going so long, and hope for a lot more in the future. And I think it's really opened my eyes to a lot of the things going on in the Drupal world that I had no idea of before I started listening. So I'm really excited for the future of it.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, James.
Thanks for having me.
Have a good day.
Thanks, James.
All right. Guess what, Steven? You made it.
Yeah, we're here, huh? I'm looking down the list. We don't have any more to go. I think we're done.
We're almost finished up here. Almost. So before we go to our closing here, I am going to ask each of you one last question, and this is completely unscripted. So everybody can brace themselves for the responses. But wondering what you feel, and I think I've asked a couple of people this question throughout the show, but like over 12 plus years, 500 episodes, right? What do you feel the greatest outcome has been of Talking Drupal? And Steven, I'll start with you.
Yeah, thanks for giving us a heads up to think about this, John. So I would say contributing, being Drupal as a product and as a community has given all of us a lot. I know it's given me a lot personally, and just having the ability to contribute something back, providing a channel, especially for the show, to provide a channel for people to communicate about Drupal. With the new show we're coming out with, it's an opportunity for us to take the platform that we've built and share it with other people. I mean, the idea of that show is for community members to have a platform that they don't have necessarily on their own. You'll notice that show, while some of us are going to be on it at times, it's really coming from the community. So it's just another channel to give back.
Awesome. Martin, what about you? And granted, you haven't been on all 500 episodes, so I'll give you a pass, but in the last, 150 plus.
Actually, it's about a quarter, I think, of show's history so far that I've been fortunate to be a part of. Not gonna lie, Steven's answer is gonna be hard to top. Yeah, I completely agree, though. It's, for me personally, it's as I kind of mentioned earlier, the ability to shine a light on the hard work that so many people put in, and I think to the extent that we can make people aware of some of the things that are sort of new and exciting and happening in the community, in addition to maybe giving them a heads up that, like, when Drupal 12 lands, here are some things you might want to think about. If you're planning a site that's going to be launching 12 months from now, maybe Experience Builder, as an example, is something to think about. Yeah, giving people the opportunity to get excited about what's going on in Drupal. I think, to me, that's probably one of the big things. So maybe before I ramble any further, I'll pass it back to you, John.
Fabulous. I actually want to hear the responses, Nick. Give me 2 seconds to go see what's going on, and I will be right back.
John, we're 500 episodes in, and John still hasn't discovered the technology of wireless headphones. I had to let Kitako out a couple of times because he was getting upset, but I could hear the show. So, but yeah, John said that somebody's banging on his door, so he's probably got a delivery.
He's got to get one more point in for us to edit.
I'm glad that this is my break.
Yeah.
It's a long episode. We're hitting
it's 3 hours and 32 minutes of recording time right now.
Yeah, and if you wanted to throw that up on FTP, I can download it so we have a backup. Oh, it's on YouTube too.
Yeah.
We have backups there. Okay, when he comes back, we can just say that I answered it and we get a wrap.
John.
Yeah, so I think so that's how I think that Talking Drupal impacted me.
Thank you, Nick. Now it's your turn, John.
Oh, I didn't even get to hear what Nick said.
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, you guys are hilarious. So before Nick answers, I will say that was an edible arrangement. Somebody sent me a congratulations gift on the 500th episode of Talking Drupal. I'll be sure to eat that while thinking of all of you. So
right.
So Nick, back to the question.
I don't remember it. What was the question?
Wait a minute. Is someone knocking at my door? But no, there's no one there.
He was very persistent. I think he knocked and rang 3 times. Anyway, so the question was 500 episodes, 12 plus years. What do you think the biggest impact that that Talking Drupal has had?
Yeah, so I think for me, it's really, because obviously I experienced this as a host. I don't experience this as a listener. But for me, it's being able to see the people behind the modules, the initiatives, the pieces, and see how they approach whatever their passion is, whatever they're working on, right? So just last week, I think it was, we had Jay Hogan to talk about the contact form initiative, and just hearing how he approached that, solving the problems that I wasn't even, I knew there was a contact form initiative, but I hadn't looked at the full list of, 13 or 14 recipes in a couple of months. And so hearing all the work that the community is putting into something that's very important to Drupal that I haven't even personally used yet is fascinating. And just hearing what people are working on, hearing how people are always, there's different goals of Drupal, but everybody's trying to move it forward, and seeing all the different ways that people have done that. It's always been the thing that stood out to me.
Yeah, I think to answer my own question, one thing that stands out to me is, this show really started out as kind kind of people that needed to compare notes on how they were doing Drupal, right? You know, in the early days, Nick, Steven, Jason, and I would get together and talk about a topic that one of us was working on, basically, and just kind of compare notes on it, right? And from that, it kind of grew into bringing in guests and you know, talking to subject matter experts other than ourselves. And selfishly for me, I would use that as an opportunity to grow and to learn, because I'd be like, oh, I need to do something with, we'll use Jacob as an example, web forms. Let's bring Jacob on and talk about it, right? But you know, over the years, right, what's stood out to me and what's been, I think, I don't know, what's been one of the best outcomes of this has been the amount of community involvement, community support, and just even meeting people and having them say, "Oh, I listened to your podcast. Like, it really helped me to do X or Y or Z." Right? You know, we had Chad on here today. We've had Chad on before. You know, Chad brought this great idea of, hey, I have this scenario of needing to kind of like upskill myself a little bit. Would you be interested in that? And we were able to put a show together around that and support him. And I'm sure, hopefully a bunch of other people in being able to do that. And I think, like, looking back, like the reason I keep going and I'm like, yes, we need to keep doing this is like, I don't know. It's not for me. I definitely don't like to listen to my own voice. I've actually never listened to one of our podcasts. Hopefully they're good. But like, it's to support the community, and it's to be able to be, you know, that soapbox for the community, and for the community to be able to have a voice and, you know, get it out there. So, I definitely appreciate all of your time and all of your efforts, because, you know, it's definitely a collective effort. It's definitely a community effort. All right. Look at that. 259. And I'm going to ask you for like the 500th time, if folks wanted to get a hold of you or chat about any of the things we've talked about today, Martin, how could they go about doing that?
Folks can find me as ManClue on all of the Drupal and social channels, and they can also read my occasional blog posts on manclue.com.
Wonderful. Stephen, what about you?
Stephen Cross with a PH in all places.
Awesome. Nick Laughlin.
You can find me pretty much everywhere at Nixvan, NICXVAN.
And I'm John Picozzi. You can find me on picozzi.com or on the socials or Drupal.org at John Picozzi. You can also find out about EPAM at EPAM.com.
And if you've enjoyed listening, we've enjoyed talking for 3 hours. 4 hours.
Or 500 episodes, depending on how you want to look at it.